Hello, hello, hello. How's everybody doing? A fundie is a fundamentalist, so think the worst kind of Christian. Yeah, fundamental Christian. So like Southern Baptist, Jehovah's Witness, the bad ones. Yeah. I will try to be respectful of like alternative spiritualities. I'm really only going after fundamentalism today, but I feel like I should, as a disclaimer, say that I am an atheist. And while I'm not going to attack anybody's views, I'm not interested in holding space for them, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not going to attack your views, but if you want me to talk about them, I will talk to them with my own opinions, not hiding them. Yeah, Bible thumpers, the ones that are very mean, very cult-like. We might talk about the bite model a little bit too, and maybe discuss who and what fits the bite model. I like the bite model a lot. It's a model to decide if something is a cult or not. Let me share. I'm gonna piggyback off of Malcolm's server and use some self-promo there. And let's do Tumblr too. Sure, why not? I haven't told Tumblr that I've been... how do I do this again? Link. And start. All right. You know what? Oh, my day's going great. Actually, I moved the rest of my furniture to my new place, so I finally have a desk. And my mom's visited me. Mom's plural. My microphone peaking. I think it should be fine. It should be fine. We should be good. I think so I have a video, but I noticed that it was very long. But we're going to start with that. Also, in terms of how extreme Christians get, you'd think it's counterintuitive, but Catholics aren't as culty as some Protestants are, right? And you'd think that wouldn't be the case because Catholics definitely have more formality, but yeah, it's more nuanced than that. Hey Morphe, thanks for joining us. You want to sub now? Like, you know, it's never too late. Hey Noah, thanks. Thanks for joining us. This is actually only my second time streaming on YouTube. I usually stream on Twitch. But I noticed last time that more people came around to the YouTube chat. I think it's just because YouTube's easier to find streams. Yeah, I mean, people in every religion can be fucked up. Across the board. But I mean, like, I get it. You know. Yeah. I'm an atheist and I'm going to be treating this as such. I will not attack anybody's personal beliefs. I tend to respect respect people's beliefs to a point. Or I respect that they're allowed to believe what they want to, at least, even if I don't agree with that belief. But yeah. Today we are very specifically going after people that are actively trying to do harm with religion, not anybody that's mostly being harmless. So I don't see this ruffling anybody's feathers. Okay, let's scoot on over. I find it very funny that I'm doing this as my little demon guy. Right. So, let's actually. So as you can see, we're going after a big old fish today. I can't remember this guy's name, but he's nuts. Daniel Pratt. I don't know who Daniel Pratt is. I'm not, I will say I do personally still believe in a higher being of some kind, but I don't have a name for it anymore. Separating myself from the cult did not shake my spirituality. That that's fair enough. Oh, this guy. Oh, you're gonna find out who this dude is. He's fucking crazy though. Um, Dr. Gene Kim, that's what his name is. He's insane. Certifiable, honestly. Um, for me, it's like I don't. If I think about the truths of the universe, I don't need a god to exist to explain why the universe exists. Yeah. Yeah, I don't. Okay, listen, this guy is so full of bullshit that I don't know if we're going to be watching all of this, honestly. Oh, look at that. The chat is popping up. There we go. Okay, chat is working, but it's very. It's not shaping. She's not showing up very well, is it? Hmm. Background color. Hmm. Let's make it. Nope, not that color. Let's go. Just so that shows up. I'm gonna make it red. Or maybe I should make it orange. Yeah, let's make it orange. Close. All right. Well, should be a bit better. Live chat on screen. Yeah. Streamlabs is interesting. Here we go. That looks way better. There we go. Gonna use a stream to learn how to not be like these type of people. Believe that the angels from Neon Genesis Evangelion built the pyramids. I'm gonna talk about Evangelion one of these days because that is certainly how do I keep it from disappearing? I'm such a noob. Browser settings. Uh, oh, Quaro, the Ramea. Okay, listen. I know people argue about which Evangelion girl is the best waifu, but I think we all know the real answer is Ramael. Hold on. I mean, must do something very important. Perfect. Oh, WebP. Save me PNG. Save me. Save me .png from the WebPs. The wife is joining me on this journey. I've decided. Save image as WebPY. There we go. Literally, this is so homophobic. Just give me like a regular. I just would like the wife, please. All right. This is very important. You need to understand. Image. New source. My wife. Add source. Browse. Here she is. My lover. She'll sit here. Everybody say hi to my wife. The best internet wife ever. Okay. No, you didn't miss anything, just me being a fucking freak about Evangelion. All right, anyway. Let me see, I'm gonna reach back through chat. Most spiritual things I believe in a universe is alive in a sense that it parallels with life. It's life adjacent. You can call it God, I don't care. I just think it's neat. What even is life, honestly? Yeah, the wife pick. Hi, Ramael. Yeah, there we go. Thank you for your respect. I appreciate it. I have no knowledge of Evangelion, but I think the best girl is a giant purple robot that Shinji rides in. I think that Unit 01 is overrated. Not enough polygons. All right, let's actually get into this guy. And again, I'm telling you, I'm warning you, this guy is nuts. We are not going to last the full hour. But we will watch some of him. I'm already looking at the whiteboard. Like, this is. Oh, jeez. Woo! All right, let's go.
Okay, Hebrews chapter 8, and we left off at verse 10, verse 10.
You went to
But let's
UC Berkeley,
review
guys.
7, 8, 9, all right?
Hold on, I want to check something. I want to check something. Right quick. Gene Kim, doctorate. Yeah. This guy's really qualified. Let's see. Let's make sure you can see that. So he says, like, I'm a doctor. I have a PhD. He has a PhD in history and East Asian languages. So he's yeah. I mean, and that's good. Like getting a PhD is good. But I mean, I'm a layman. Like, you know. But you'll see, okay, so you'll see people in the Christian fundamentalist circles that I think he's Korean. Yeah. Yeah, Japan and Korea. Okay. Anyway, so you'll see this a lot where fundamentalists will use doctorates and masters and PhDs to sort of make themselves seem smarter than they are. Whenever somebody says that they're a doctor and they're using that to try to back up how, um, to make themselves seem more reliable, Google is your best friend. Look up that person and find out um, what his doctorate's in. This actually says that he's a PhD candidate, not a so he's not a doctor yet, but this might be a little old. But even if he did complete his doctorate, it's not in anything scientific. It's in languages, and history, not science. So just keep that in mind. And just whenever you hear somebody that's a fundamentalist say, I'm a doctorate or I have a degree or I'm this, Google them. And this is kind of one of the biggest things that I really want to talk about is that Christian fundamentalists will do whatever they can to give themselves legitimacy, and they often are lying to you or exaggerating the truth. So, all right, I'm going to look. It's so weird dropping in and not seeing the context for the whiteboard with a bunch of Jewish terms, knowing this guy knows less than nothing about what he's talking about. So he does have a history of viruses are life adjacent, but not life. It's so cool. They've actually also gotten the proteins together that are the building blocks of life and reproduced what proto-life might have looked like. Like they started to organize and like replicate. It didn't quite get to the complexity of like an organism, but like they've gotten pretty close to proving biogenesis. Abiogenesis, I should say. Yeah, there's a big Baptist and or evangelical movement in Korean diaspora. Yeah, I'm aware of that one. Most creationist doctors I've heard have been dentists, funnily enough. Yeah, or they just have like a doctorate of engineering. The best example of the BS credentials is Kent Hovind. Kent Hovind. We might look at him today. Yeah, doctorate is something completely unrelated, or it's from a degree mill. Oh, my sound keeps turning on and off. That's not good. Huh. All right, I'll keep an eye on that. I'll just keep my microphone in view. All right, let's listen to this guy.
Verse 10, but let's review verses 7, 8, and 9. Remember that in this chapter there are two covenants going on. One is the Levitical law, and then the other one is what God calls a new covenant.
All right. Another thing is that to keep in mind is that the Old Testament is a conglomerate of a bunch of different scriptures and books. A lot of them come from Jewish tradition, but some of them, it's why you have like two different creationist stories. Like you have Genesis 1 and then like you have like another story told right after that in like a later chapter that's just a whole different creation story, and they have contradicting facts, like what order things were made in and what day humans were created in. So I mean, when I definitely don't understand Judaism. Oh, Mr. Kim.
Now, people
Kinda
are going to mistakenly think that this new covenant is referring to the church. It's referring to Christians. That is not true. It is a new covenant that is performed with Israel. A lot of people overlook that part. It is done with the nation of Israel. Why? Because God is not done with the Jews. He swore a conditional promise to Abraham that his physical seed will continue on a physical land grant.
Me when my physical seed continues on a physical land grant. I actually used to go by Sparrow, but it didn't really fit me. Also, like, everybody in my community had bird names, so Crim it is.
It has nothing to do with something spiritual or a spiritual group of people or a spiritual land. That's the reason why the Catholic Church was very infamous with its crusades. They're trying to build God's church, God's kingdom, because that's the land.
Blech. Yeah, just completely. Yeah, it's the Crusades. They're just doing this for yucky.
Promised land God has given to them, etc. It's totally off. So it's called a kingdom building gospel. The gospel of kingdom building is a bloody gospel that has caused untold suffering of millions. The Quran, the Muslims practice that as well.
Okay, dude. Okay. Okay. Okay, man. So they'll also do this where they'll try to excuse the crimes of Christians by comparing them to other religions. So yeah. The Crusades also, like, Christians did that, not the Jews, to be clear. And it was against Muslims, and yeah, anyway.
Calvinists and churches today, they preach about a kingdom gospel. In their mind, the kingdom.
Oh, we've got Jewish people in chat. Welcome. I want to make it very clear that I welcome, no anti-Semitism in chat, please. And, yeah, just make this very, very clear. And also, if I get anything wrong about Judaism, let me know. I try to be educated, but I grew up in a fundamentalist Christian faith, and I'm still unlearning a lot of gross things that was told to me. So I might get some things about the faith wrong, and I'm sure it's going to come up because this guy's already talking about Jewish people. Yeah. So just let me know if I'm incorrect. I don't think I'll veer into offense. I try not to, but if I get something incorrect and somebody wants to pipe up, I will 100% I will 100% listen to you and defer to you. Also, I might take callers later. Thank you. I feel like streamers being normal about Jews is like bar is underground. Just don't be a fucking freak, dude. And also just I also want to say that, like, I think that there is definitely a space to talk about, like, atheism in the spaces of Judaism and Islam, but I don't think I'm the person to talk about that. I think that ex-Jewish atheists and ex-Muslim atheists should be the ones talking about atheism or should be the ones talking about Islam and Judaism. I don't think I have any right to do that. Just as an aside as well. So I won't be, I'm not going to be speaking on that front. I don't know what it's like being in those religions. So there's plenty of people that aren't me talking about it. So I'll just stick to what I know. All right.
Kingdom gospel is basically building a kingdom on earth for Christians. That is totally false. That is totally false.
Wait, what?
Earth for Christians, that is totally false. That is totally false. You want to get out of that. You are not the physical nation of Israel. What you are is you are Christians. So Christians, they're different. The new covenant is applied to the nation of Israel. But we will see Christians applied as well. So in other words, it's going to be a...
So are Christians part of the new covenant, or aren't they, Mr. Kim? He's basically saying that the new covenant applies to, it's the new covenant of Israel and applies to Jewish people. Christians, it's not, they're not a part of that. But then he's right after he finishes saying that, but Christians fall under this as well. So like, which is it? Also, how's my audio, by the way? Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Gene Kim is full of shit. And I'm gonna call him Mr. Gene Kim as a slight.
Double application. So the mistake
Oh,
is by hyper
what?
dispensationalists who are mid-acts, as well as the non-dispensationalists, is that they only take a one application approach. That shows their amateur Bible study.
What the fuck are you talking about, dude? Oh my god. Okay. You know what? The thing is that he so much wants to be Ken Ham or Kent Hovind, but he's so, I don't think he can, he's just word salad all the way down.
So Bible-believing dispensationalists will see the double application. The new
Say
covenant
that 3
covers
times fast.
Israel as well
Bible-believing
as the Christian.
dispensationalist.
So we'll cover the
Bible-believing
Christian part soon when
dispensationalist.
we reach chapter 9. But there is no
Bible-believing
doubt when we cover chapter
dispensationalist.
8, verse 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way to 13, that is referring to Israel. No doubt, hands down, Israel. What's the evidence? The evidence
Yeah.
is because of verse 8. He mentions it's toward the house of Judah and Israel. This definitely has to do with something national.
Kent Hovind and Ken
This
Ham
is
at least
not
know how to talk.
spiritual. Christians, our promise and our covenant is all done spiritually. It's a spiritual transaction. But this is a national thing. This is a national act. Look at verse 9. Notice right here. According to the covenant that I made with their fathers. That's their physical forefathers.
Dude, do you have this, like, okay, look, we're gonna look at some of the like, look at this. This has got to be good. Look at this little mountain right here. Most replayed. We're gonna skip ahead a little bit because this guy is just he's just stringing together buzzwords and like lying about what Jewish people do. Let's go right here.
Corinthians chapter 2.
Corinthians chapter 2.
If you describe this thing,
Heaven.
you cannot do it because it's just too wonderful.
Okay, so you can't
That's
describe
the
heaven
idea.
because it's too wonderful. Okay.
It's just way too wonderful that perhaps people, when they try to talk about it as best as they could, it could be something illegal, something bad could happen to them. You just don't know, or it's just too holy. That's how wonderful it is. That's how glorious it is. Look at 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 9. Man, that makes you excited about heaven because verse 9 says, but as it is written, eye hath not seen nor ear heard, neither have entered into the heart.
I'm going to be real with you. If this was the first guy to tell me about Christianity, I would laugh at him. I'm like, you're lying. You literally just made this up in the spot. Oh, God.
A man, the things which God hath prepared for them that love him. Your imagination can't describe this. Not even your own imagination. The best thing that...
Me, when I didn't actually read the Bible, we know exactly what is promised to us in in heaven. Unless you're extrapolating from the Bible, and we know that you're not supposed to do that in the Christian fundamentalist circles. But basically, we're just going to rejoice God all the time, and we'll be completely fulfilled, being little worship slaves all the time. That's what's in store for Christians. This sounds like one of those presentations I would put together the night before presenting for school. Yeah, he was a grad student for so long that he forgot that, like, he needs to stop speaking like a deranged student that's surviving off of toast and coffee. Okay.
you see of man's vivid imaginations on it are video games now. So they always try to do fantasy realms and, all this kind of stuff. Why are kids so much into that? Why are people so much into that? You know
What?
why? Because of those pictures.
It's a
Because of those
video
pictures, they're very
games.
catchy.
It's a video
They're
games,
very beautiful.
guys.
That's why people are into those movie stuff that describe those fantasy or
What are you
sci-fi
talking
realms.
about?
Why? People want to see some imaginary realm. But what they've conjured up is barely scratching the surface of what God conjured up over there. Now, here's the thing.
I'm liking the
This
bloody
is an
cross that he
extremely
drew.
interesting side note. You notice those sons of God, if they were the ones who built those pyramids in Egypt, if they were the ones where remnants of the Nephilim perhaps carried it on to parts of Asia, North America, South America, pyramid-type structures.
What?
Why is it that all these towers and pyramids have to align really well with the stars? The Stonehenge, for example, how they...
Okay, so let's unpack this for a little bit. So can I like get some guesses in chat? And like, there's no wrong answer here. I just want to hear what people have to say. Why are there so many pyramids? Why does like every society around the world seem to have a pyramid structure? Like any advanced civilization seems to build pyramids. Why is man and woman and non-binary pals, why are humans compelled to build pyramids? I just, let's get some answers in chat. I would love to hear your guys' opinion why you think there's so many pyramids. Yeah, Squeaker's pretty much got it right. It's that like you can only build something so tall before you have to build out the base of it, right? And the easiest way to do that is to build a pyramid. You know? Yeah, it is an easy shape to make. It's just stacking rocks on top of each other in a way that makes sense and won't fall over. Okay. So why are there so many buildings all over the world that seem to align with or talk about the stars? There is an answer for this, but again, there's no wrong. I will accept any answer. I just kind of want to see what people might come up with. Everybody can see them exactly. So it doesn't matter if I'm in China, if I am in Russia, if I'm in England, if I'm in Kenya, if I'm in North America, if I'm in Brazil. Everybody looks up and can see the stars. And they're really mysterious, and it's only really recently that we really understood what they were. And we're still learning things about them. We're captivated by them because we look up and Windows, don't sass me today. All right. Stars exist in a pattern that can be studied and understood. Yeah, exactly. Like I noticing that like this one little curl of stars that seems to have a little sticky out bit, like it keeps on coming up in the same place every night, and or it sort of moves night to night, and like in one part of the year it's over here, and in another part it's over here. Stars are cool and they seem mysterious to us living on Earth, and we can all see them, so we built stuff that aligns with them. Yeah. See, it would be more interesting if like somebody in Kenya, for example, or Nigeria, made something that aligned with the stars in, I don't know, Alaska. That would be weirder, but they don't. Um, because if I built a room where, depending on the time of day, a sunbeam goes through and hits a certain spot on the wall and like maybe makes a pattern, um, that's true. Like, people from way back then can figure that out too. Humans have had the same mental capacity for tens of thousands of years, if not longer. So yeah, we don't support young Earth creationists on this channel, by the way. So I will be talking in terms of tens of thousands of years old for human civilization and billions, I believe, for actually, hold on. Let me just get a little refresher on like what is the current agreed upon age of the Earth? Yeah, 4.5 billion years. That sounds right. Stars move over thousands of years is a coincidence. The Big Dipper will be twisted in like a few thousand years, for example. And it's like, is people will say like, isn't it like, okay, can you explain why the Big Dipper is the way it is? And it's like because when we look up there, we were like, hey, that kind of looks like a ladle. Let's call it the Big Dipper. You know, there are objects older than what young Earth creationists say that the Earth is. Yeah. So for people that don't know, young Earth creationists say that the Earth is 6,000 years old. Um. So let's see. That would be 4,000 BC. Yeah. We'll let him talk for a little bit longer, and then I think we're going to move on. Yeah, the Earth is 4.5 billion years old. But young Earth creationists are dumb, so.
They try to line it up
Look
with
at
the
all this
sun
blood.
and
Look
the
at that.
heavens itself. I mean, it's crazy how they built that. When you look at
Oh,
that,
you can't
I
see
mean,
it
it's
because I'm
like
in
a
the way.
huge slab of stone, and then it's like it's got its own lock over there. You'll see that at the watch night service. We'll show you, but
Look at that bloody.
it's got like some kind of lock over there where another stone can just snap on top of it like a Lego or something. That was so weird, man. The only way that you can do that is that if there's a really big guy who puts this block here and then another block on top of it like that. That would.
Um. You guys see that? Hold on. Yeah. Can you guys? You guys can see that, right? So he's saying that. Yeah. Accelerated Christian education. They treat young Earth creation as 100% proven concrete fact. You know who I want to? Okay, I want to actually watch an entertaining video. Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna stop watching this guy because this guy has no riz. Um. Oh, I don't want to watch 3 hours of this guy. Hold on a second. Give me a second to find the video. Because it was a little crazy. I watched some of it. It's kind of nice. Not nice. It's kind of something. Here we go. Hold on. I want to see if this is like the video that I want.
Someone contact.
No, I don't think so. I found the clips. I just need to find the right one. Here we go.
But
All right. I think this might be somebody else commenting on it, but we'll take a look at it anyway. Yeah, that's right, guys. That's right, fellas. So if you don't know this, Tucker Carl. Let me try that again. Tucker Carlson appeared on the Joe Rogan show recently, and he was fucking crazy. All right, let's see.
and if there is this
Is it real?
constant, I don't know, but it's visible. Like you can
Talking
measure
about
it
evolution.
in certain animals.
You can measure adaptation.
Yeah.
But there's no evidence that evolution. In fact, I think we've kind of given up on the idea of evolution.
Tucker Carlson.
They really honestly think that we've given up on the idea of evolution.
Carlson confidently told podcaster Joe Rogan, evolution has been debunked. Darwinian evolution by natural selection has been debunked. This is getting really bad. We have a couple of clips from this completely off-the-wall interview that Tucker Carlson did with Joe Rogan. We'll look at another one of them tomorrow. But today the topic is evolution. Let's listen to this. And there's so much stuff to go through here. I don't want to just play the whole clip and then give you a.
Well, that's what I want to do. I want to do this part. Dude, hold on, let me see. Here we go. Tucker. Dude, Joe Rogan's not posting a lot of he's not posting about the Christianity rant because it's crazy.
The Joe Rogan experience.
The deeper level is so if they're spiritual beings, which I believe they are, like
this is him
it's
changing
binary.
his...
They're either, you're on team good or team bad. You can assign any name to it you want, but what are these things? Are they good or bad? And I think some of them are bad. And if the U.S. government knows that, or elements, the people within the U.S. government know that.
Guys, I'm going to need the U.S. government to start creating an anti-demon task force. What is this, fucking supernatural? God damn. Jesus. Oh, thanks, Avert A Love. Have a good day at work, and I hope the VOD will be up later. Jesus Christ.
Then they're serving a bad.
Okay, we're gonna look at this, and here's what we're gonna do. Does he have this? of course he doesn't have this earmarked.
The joke.
Let's go to the humps. Let's look at some of
an
the humps.
advanced race of beings from somewhere else.
Okay.
But the template that every other society before us has used is a spiritual one. There is a whole world that we can't see that acts on people, a supernatural world that's acting on us all the time for good and bad. Every society has thought this before ours. In fact,
Every society has also like not believed in germ theory or like thought that the world was flat or yeah, so people have believed this for a really, really long time, so therefore it's true. And I think the question is like, why does Tucker Carlson believe this? Why is he telling us like this? Like, why is it so important for us to think this way?
every society in all recorded history has thought that until, I'll be specific, August 1945, when we dropped the atom bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and all of a sudden the West is just officially
Yeah, this just in, Hiroshima was the birth of atheism, guys.
secular. We're God. There is no God but us. And that's the world that we have grown up in, but that's an anomaly. Like, no one else has ever thought that. There's never been a society that thought that. Every other society has assumed, and they've had all kinds of different explanations, and the details differ, but the core idea does not differ, never has differed from caves until now, that we're being acted on by spiritual forces at all times. And so to someone born before or living before 1945, I think it would have been much more obvious that this is the thing that every society.
All right, let me just look up something real quick. Now we are going to use Wikipedia because I feel like it. Hold on a second. There we go. All right. Indian philosophy. Okay. In the East, a contemplative life not centered on the idea of deities began in the 6th century BCE with the rise of Jainism, Buddhism, and various sects of Hinduism in India, and Taoism in China. So a bunch of these are not really concerned with a deity. These religions offered a philosophical and salvific path not involving a deity worship. Deities are not seen as necessary to the salvific goal of the early Buddhist tradition. The reality is explicitly questioned and often rejected. There's a fundamental incompatibility between the notion of gods and basic Buddhist principles, at least in some interpretations. Some Buddhist philosophers assert that belief in an internal creator of God is a distraction from the central task of the religious life. Who really knows? Who here will claim it? When was it produced? Whence is this creation? The gods came afterwards with the creation of this universe. Who then knows whence it has arisen? Yeah. So we have had atheism longer than we've had Christianity. So Cockerel Tarleson, when he knows he's not allowed to say the Jews, but he absolutely would if he could. I don't necessarily agree with there being spiritual plane that acts on the physical, but you don't just say that. Necessarily disagree with there being a spiritual plane, right? This feels like some watered down, plagiarized New Age concept. I have a Buddhist friend who has talked to me about things like that. Yeah. Atheism is older than Christianity. So whenever you hear somebody like Tucker Carlson or Kent Hovind or Ken Ham say that, oh, whenever you hear a Christian say anything and assert it as the truth, look it up. Please look it up, because they will say things And like when it's like, oh yeah, like until just the 1945 everybody was religious, and then this happened, and then like it sounds like it's true. It sounds like it should be true that atheism is a very new thing, but it's not. And just because like it sounds like it should be true doesn't mean it is true, right? This stream started at 1911. Make a wish. And if you're going to make absolute claims of spirituality in my chat, I will shoot them down, by the way. So that's your only warning before I get mean about my own beliefs. Atheism was invented by Douglas Atheism. And no. The Hiroshima bomb invented atheism, you fool. But yeah, if somebody's like, oh yeah, deities exist or this exists, I will get spicy about it. But I won't until you start making assertions in my chat. You can say, oh, Hindus believe in this, or Jewish people believe in this. Oh, you're just mentioning how Buddhists talk about it. Okay. All right, that's fair. That's fair. 6th century BCE. With the breakup of the body, the wise and the foolish are annihilated alike and destroyed. They do not exist after death. You know? So this is not a new thing. So whenever you hear somebody like Tucker Carlson make a claim like that, and it sounds like it should be true, but it's like, makes you think, Google it. Look it up. And you'll basically find evidence immediately to the contrary.
Society has written about. And
so he's just lying right
that
here.
Battle, that unseen battle around us, that spiritual battle, has like been the basis of every society, of every religion, not just Christianity. So, like, it just, once you discard your very, very recent assumptions, relatively speaking, about how the world works, you're like, well, that kind of seems like the obvious explanation, right?
It's not that obvious to me.
Oh, Joe Rogan.
So what?
Get him.
What's more obvious, do you think?
Well, I don't think.
Whoever wins, we all lose. Anyway, let's listen. What does he have to say?
There's an obvious explanation. Oof. I think if I had to guess, some of this stuff is ours. And some of these things are propulsion systems that they theorized way back in the 1950s. Anti-gravity propulsion systems, things that can operate without igniting fuel and pushing something out, that they operate in some completely different way that utilizes gravity and almost can instantaneously transport to new places.
What?
Essentially fold space-time. I don't know. So there's things that the government does where they have these.
Okay, he's just being a crackpot right now. We'll talk about that some other day.
Supercomputer in a data center outside Dulles Airport? No. Everybody I've ever talked to, and there's many people, was like, yeah, it's, could get away from us and enslave us. Well, let's say no to slavery.
AI.
How's that? Okay. Is that a tough one? Not for me.
Yeah.
I mean, and maybe a good use of nuclear weapons would be to hit the data centers.
Oh.
No, I'm serious. Like, why is that crazy?
Cool.
It's not. It's not if you think that human beings are the end of this evolutionary chain.
Well, what else is? Some supercomputer in a data center outside Dulles Airport? No. I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
I don't actually think that individuals, I don't think I'm that important. My life is that important. I don't. I will die. I know that. And I try to keep that in mind every day.
But you're important to everybody that cares about you. You're important to the people around you.
But if we don't think people are important.
Rare Joe Rogan W. Floods, for example, are a common story because humans live by water, and floods are frequent disasters because of that. I love analyzing parallels between stories. My kind of far-fetched theory is that the flood happened in a metaphorical sense due to the end of the last ice age. No, there is evidence actually that there was a flood, a local flood around the area that Judaism would have been developing at the time. But local floods happen all the time, and they can be devastating. Um, but yeah, who here's heard of the heat problem? Anybody hear the heat problem? Heartbreaking, the worst person you know, just made a great point. Yup. Well, I think my stream's delaying a little bit, so I'll just go ahead and give the answer. I might have heard of it, but I don't know by name. So the heat problem is for the Earth to be as young as it is, and for the flood to have happened, and basically for young Earth creationism need to be that would need to be true. Young Earth creationism to be true, it would require the Earth to have given off so much heat that it would have melted the granitic crust of the Earth several times over. So like granite would have melted, and it would have gotten hot enough to melt it like many, many times. Because of the amount of radiation it would have put off, because of the friction of the tectonic plates moving during this great flood. It just doesn't work on a physics level. So, yeah. This physically, the Great Flood, and as well as young Earth creationism is just physically not possible. And then you'll see people be like, oh, but like God made it a miracle for it to happen. And it's like, okay, if you think a miracle caused the Great Flood to happen, then why are you trying to scientifically explain it? If you're just going to, at the very end, when you run out of explanations, say it was a miracle, then why not just say it was a miracle from the get-go? I would actually respect you more as a human being if you did that. So, anyway.
Then what do we think is important? I guess that's what I'm saying.
Not necessarily that we don't think people are important, but if evolution is real, and if there is this constant, I don't know, but it's visible. Like you can measure it in certain animals.
You can measure adaptation.
Yeah.
But there's no evidence.
Oh, this is one I wanted to look at.
Up on the idea of evolution.
No,
the theory
we have.
of evolution
What are you talking about?
Like,
what are you talking about?
In what sense?
Well, in the most basic
what are you talking
sense,
about?
the idea that all life emerged from a single cell organism and over time, and there would be a fossil record of that, and there's not. And
there's not a fossil record of transitionary species, like species that are adapting to its environment.
There's tons of record of adaptation, and you see it in your own life. I mean, I have a lot of dogs. I see adaptation in dogs, through the litter to litter. But no, there's no evidence at all that zero that people evolve seamlessly from a single cell amoeba. No, there's not. There's no chain in the fossil record of that at all. And that's why you don't actually hear people, you hear them make reference to evolution because the theory of adaptation is clearly, obviously true.
Adaptation and evolution are the same. They are scientifically the same thing.
But Darwin's theory's totally that's why it's still a theory almost 200 years later.
That's not what theory means.
No, we have not found that at all. And I can't even guess. I mean, I have my own theories on it, but they're not proven.
What are your theories?
God created people. distinctly, and animals. I mean,
Uh,
I think what every person on Earth thought until the mid 19th century,
No.
actually.
Right, but
It's not a new idea.
they didn't have computers. They
Yep.
didn't have a general understanding that we have today of the process.
Do you think we understand more now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't think that we understand more
We
today?
understand way less. We understand so little that
Uh-huh.
we're actually sitting here allowing like a bunch of greedy, stupid, childless software engineers in Northern California to like flirt with the extinction of mankind.
Get fucking cucked, Tucker. Jesus Christ. The fucking childless millennials they're gonna kill us all, you guys. Okay, hold on a second. Mm, yeah, let's go with this one. All right. Now, again, I am I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. I'm fine. Now I am a uh can I get these? I'd like to scoot this up a little bit, but that's the whole image, I think. Yeah, that's the whole image. So, do you think you could put like a line dividing human from ape, you know? Do you think that we're able to quantify that, honestly? Because like is this a human? Is this a human? I think most people would say that like this is an ape maybe. But like where do you draw the line? And that's kind of like how evolution works. So this is like why D so blue? Probably because it's filled with silicone because those are missing pieces. Um and we put them together because like skulls are very symmetrical, so we know that like even though we're missing like this part of the cheek, we know that on this side it was shaped like that. So we can we can very safely suppose that it would be the same on this side. But it's just to show that those parts were built like we guessed how they would look like, but yeah. And like yeah. Now, like I'm not as eloquent about this as like actual like anthropologists are and like evolutionary scientists, but we have so many specimens that we can basically create a gradient, and it's gotten to the point that we actually are having a hard time deciding, like, what's an Australopithecus, what's a Homo erectus, because like as they get closer and closer and closer in um temporally, they basically are the same. So we don't actually know where to put that dividing line between species, which makes sense because species is a human concept, you know? Um, Animals just keep evolving. Life just keeps evolving regardless of whether, you know, we think it's distinct or not. Um, and we also might think that like this is the end of evolution, but we don't know that. We don't know what's going to happen like in the next 5,000 years. The world's probably going to look very different, and life is, well, not just 5,000, but like millions of years, you know? Back to this guy.
So no previous generations would be like, what? No, stop. And we're not doing that because
but
we
they
know...
wouldn't have done that even with the nuclear bomb. I mean, obviously the Manhattan Project was done in secrecy, but they wouldn't have stopped it because the imperative of getting this weapon before Hitler got the weapon was what it was.
Well, Hitler
on
was kind of
mind.
done by then. The Russians had pretty much extinguished any hope that would continue. But
not
but
at
no,
the
but we
beginning
were,
of the
we were in the middle
project.
of the logic of war.
At the commencement of the Manhattan Project.
For sure. But the logic was the same, and it was, 4 years of got to beat the other guy. Got it.
Dougal Dixon. No, let's look him up. Oh, he's a what's it called? Speculative biology, right? I love speculative biology. I think it's really cool. Scottish geologist. Okay, maybe I'm thinking of something else. I just saw After Man. And this is speculative biology right here. I love it. Oh, you can't really see that on the screen here. Let me pull it up so you guys can look. Are apes going to evolve into something more similar to us? Okay, so has anybody ever heard of phylogeny? So humans are apes. We are also monkeys. We're catarrhine monkeys. We're primates. We're mammals. Well, we're eukaryotes. So once an animal is something, once it's a species, like its descendants are all also. That's why birds are dinosaurs. Birds are still dinosaurs. So that's kind of how that works. That looks really cool, actually. How much is it? Jesus. Look at that price tag. Can you guys see it past chat? It's $109 Canadian. Ugh. I don't have that kind of monies. But I really would love a book like that. That'd be pretty sweet. Back to Tucker. Birds are dinosaurs, yes. Dogs are wolves, also, or they're, we are also derived. Well, see, here's the interesting thing is that fish isn't really, it's kind of like vegetable, where it's not really like a technical biological term. We just think of certain things as fish, but like you can't lump everything that we think of as a fish into a biological category that would like include all fish and preclude everything that isn't a fish. Conventionally, if you kind of get what I'm kind of pick up what I'm putting down, because that's just not how things work.
And
It's
I don't
confusing.
mean to sound too judgmental about the bomb. I know why they built it, okay?
Uh-huh.
But you just wonder.
I I don't mean to sorry. I don't mean to sound judgmental about one of the most tragic events of human history. Oh, I don't mean to sound Tucker, I think you could safely be judgmental of the most senseless acts of violence that was ever committed in, like, human history. I think you could safely be judgmental about that one.
Why nobody in the middle of that thought, is this really and some of them did think it.
I'm sure
actually.
they did.
Yes,
I
they
mean,
Are we the baddies? Oh god. Oh, this is so much better than the Orchard content. It's actually, quite amusing. Okay.
Oppenheimer himself.
of course, large
Yeah.
organizations don't
You know,
respond
Joe Rogan
to the moral
watched
qualms of
Oppenheimer
individuals very well.
2023.
So that was
knows what he's talking
whatever.
about.
It's well known what happened. But no, we should pause and ask: is the machine we're building worth having?
Yeah.
And nobody seems to do that. And there are all kinds of economic forces which nobody ever mentions.
This just in, nobody ever questions if we should build bombs or destructive machines. Tucker, baby, honey, sweetie pie, darling. Apple of my eye. Little ant. What do you think? What do you think anti-war protests are, you freaking idiot? Do you know how many people protested the bomb and told people not to build it? People literally died, sir. There was never an anti-war movement in Ba Sing Se. Jesus. Oh, maybe we shouldn't bring. Do you think anybody's ever questioned if we should be making AI? Who? Isaac Asimov. Who said that? I don't know that guy. Never heard of him. Oh my god.
That drive.
Like, I'm sorry to interrupt him again, but like, oh my god. how how under a rock are you living, my dude?
That heedlessness, that stupidity, like California, for example, is completely the state both of us have lived in, is like collapsing.
Yeah.
And they're betting everything on AI for the tax base.
The state of California is equivalent. Just the state of California just existing is the equivalent of the Hiroshima bomb. Ooh, okay. Okay, okay.
Is going to be dependent on this technology working.
Is
and
that
that's
really what they're betting on?
Of course. That AI is.
Did you see the most recent thing about the
Keep your
amount
eyes
of
to
billions
yourself.
of dollars they spent on the homeless problem with no trackable results?
Well, they've had massive results. They've increased the homeless population dramatically. If you pay for something, you get more of it. And that would include fentanyl addicts. Oh, absolutely. It's been a wild success. I actually talked to Kevin Newsom the other day.
Did you really?
Yeah. And
What's that like? Does he smell like sulfur?
It was by phone. I was talking to him on the phone. It's such a weird. You smell like that was too fast for me.
Sulfur and hair grease.
Yeah. No, but I was making
Kevin
fun
watches this
of.
video.
I shouldn't even make fun of it because it's so tragic. But what's happened to the state and people living on the street?
What is his
Tucker?
non-gas?
Eat my entire ass, Tucker Carlson. You were like, it was like months ago that you were fear mongering about like homeless people like being dangerous. Fucking kiss my ass.
Gaslighty perspective.
He said, "Go back to Russia. You like Russia so much." I was like, I'm originally from San Francisco, but I can't live there because.
He really told you to go back to Russia?
Of course. I mean, he was laughing, whatever. He's a perfectly charming guy. They all are in person. But
of course.
Okay, so we've got some Tucker Carlson lore. He's originally from San Francisco, and the homophobia just like ejected him into Christian fundamentalism. He saw like a gay couple kissing like from his stoop and just like spontaneously erupted. Okay.
Anyway, I'm so far afield, but my point is AI is being driven by the greed of politicians to some extent. And you'll notice that AI, by the way, as a fact, those data centers that drive our digital life, which is not life, it's actually death mostly.
Okay, hold on. All right. It's getting weird on my screen. I think that should be fine. Let me see. Okay, we're gonna do one of these. Hold on a second. For courtesy. I should have set this up earlier. This is how you know I'm not a pro. Yeah, let's go here. We're gonna get a little cut off, but I think that's okay. I think this is fine. And then we'll just trim that in here. And bring that in there. Perfect. Ugh. Oh, I still got a little bit of a... There we go. Perfect. All right. Generative AI programs may eventually consume material that was created by other machines with disastrous consequences. So we're talking about how... so Tucker Carlson says that... Oh, you better not be behind a paywall, you little bitch. In the beginning, the chatbots and their ilk fed on the human-made internet, various generative AI models of the sort that power ChatGPT got their start by devouring data from sites including Wikipedia, Getty, and Scribd. They consume text, images, and other content, learning through algorithmic digestion, their flavors and texture, which ingredients go well together and which do not, in order to connect their own art and writing. But this feast only whet their appetite. Yeah. Oh, it is gonna paywalled. Paywalled. Let's see. All right, this one isn't paywalled. Now, keep in mind that these aren't in like any scientific journals. It's literally just people speculating and talking about stuff. Basically just discussion right now, right? Podcast Hard Fork had a great conversation about how AI will start to consume what it creates. Self-cannibalizing will harm future models, and the actions of search engines will only worsen it. AI is trained on internet content. The percentage of content made by humans used to be, let's say, 99.9% of that. The latest GPT Model 4 was trained on data from 2021, so it's relatively pure data set. As AI generated content floods the internet, that ratio is going to shift. When AI bots get trained on AI content, it creates an entropic feedback loop where things only degrade. If you've ever tapped the hell out of the predictive text above your phone keyboard, you've seen some form of this. It makes sense for a little while, but eventually it's a snake eating its tail, repeating the same phase forever. Yeah. So basically, what's going to happen, and I've been also saying this, if you know anything, like, these kind of articles are what me and my friends say when we're speculating about the future for shits and giggles. They shouldn't be taken as anything more serious than that. I mean, this article, it's not like a doomer thing. It's just that, like, that's just how machines work. If like, okay, say 2022, well, it was really only a thing like since late 2023. So let's just say 2023, I create an AI that creates content out of content it's learned before. And it starts making articles and it starts like filling websites. And what had once been like all human written content slowly becomes AI content. And the AI is pretty good at making it seem like it's human. So it keeps on creating and it keeps on eating and it keeps on eating and eating and eating. And eventually, the AI is going to start eating its own shit, basically. It's going to come across content that was already made by AI, and it's going to eat that, and it's going to put that into its engine, into its model, and it's going to keep doing that because the only thing that it's going to be able to eat is more. It's like when you like. They used to say this, that if you drank your own pee, you can only do that for so long before the pee degraded into being like undrinkable. If you know what that's a pretty crass like comparison, but like you can only filter it out so many times before you've gotten all the moisture out, right? Um, the AI is inbreeding. That's what I called it. That's what I called it. But people are using cannibalizing now, which I think is more apt. But I used to call it inbreeding before it was like actually proven to be a thing. And I'm definitely not that smart. Like, I'm not the only one who predicted this, but me literally seeing a post about AI Google answering, saying to cook chicken, you can ask Goku for help. Yeah. So if the only thing that AI has to learn from is other AI, then yeah, they train off of Reddit now. Ooh, Reddit's not gonna like that. Reddit's not gonna like that because Reddit doesn't allow third-party APIs. So unless they overturned that decision, but from what I know, they didn't. Rare Reddit W. back to Mr. Carlson.
But
listen, we don't talk about NFCs anymore or like the blockchain. AI is just the new tech bro grift, you know? It's like when you run a face through an old person filter several times and get the hideous abomination against the god you don't believe in. Yeah. 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 Or it's like when you compress a JPEG one too many times and it just artifacts. I think because I'm very aware of that process, that's kind of what made me have doubts about this whole thing, because I'm very familiar with how compression and how computer language, like, you need human input or it won't work.
I mean, they're the biggest power draw. I mean,
Let's-
how much electricity does AI require? Like more than countries. Our grid can't handle AI just as a practical matter.
Well,
okay?
our grid can't handle electric cars.
Well, it can't handle air conditioning in the state of California, where I'm
Right.
from. So,
Yeah.
right. If
Right.
you live east of I-5 where it's really hot and you're not getting those ocean breezes, like they have brownouts, like in South
Yeah.
Africa. It's Johannesburg now. So, but here's what's interesting
Johannesburg.
is that none of the global warming cultists seem to have any concerns at all about AI. Why is that?
Bro, what are you talking about? We've literally been. Ugh. What echo chamber are you living in?
Just like they don't have concerns about John Kerry's G4. Like somehow that's exempt. Really?
What are you talking about?
AI is going to draw more electricity than anything else in the United States, more than steel.
Dude, like this guy. God, the most leftist person that this guy can fucking handle is like Justin Trudeau before he shits his pants. If you get any more left wing than Justin Trudeau, you're Tucker Carlson, you're gonna start pooping and peeing and shitting and farting. Ugh. Global warming cultists. Get out of here.
Production, okay? Used to. And you don't have a problem with that, but you're totally against energy because it's destroying the planet, but AI gets a carve out,
No,
even
it
though it's going to be the
doesn't.
#1 energy draw
What
in
are
the
you
United
talking
States.
about?
Let's go through your reasoning on that.
He thinks
probably not
Trudeau
aware.
is
Well,
secretly
they're not aware.
Castro
They're
Well,
mad
the
about my
average-
wood stove. I heat with wood. They're mad about my wood stove. They don't want an outdoor barbecue. They don't like a gas stove. No, they're way into the details on this stuff, except somehow AI isn't a problem.
But do you think that they're informed? Because this is not a
Tucker, we don't care about your fucking wood stove, my dude. Okay, I think I have a theory. I think that Tucker Carlson has worms in his brains too, you guys. Jesus Christ. Oh, my lord. He thinks global warming activists don't hate AI. Yeah. Well, I think he's got some worms in his brain.
narrative that you ever hear. You never hear on
Well,
the
I
news.
grew up in a world where a wood stove was considered wholesome and natural, and now it's considered
Smells good, too.
Oh, it's the
What is this? I'm pretty sure that we're fine with wood stoves, aren't we? I've never heard anybody complain about a wood stove. What are we? Where did? Hold on. Yeah, it seems to be like the general consensus is that, like, yes, it releases carbon into the air, but like over a 20-year period, it's not been a significant contribution, you know. Yeah. On my campus, the brainworm guy had a canvasser and he didn't let me leave until I was late for class. Jesus Christ. A wood stove sounds fucking awesome. A gas stove isn't exactly good for you, but it's up to you, honestly. I also like cooking on an open flame. Yeah. Also, like, as an individual person, basically nothing you do is contributing or accelerating global warming a significant amount. Um, the biggest problems are like planes and commercial industry. Uh, so it's not really your wood stove is not a big fucking deal. Nobody said it was, Tucker.
Best. And the
Oh,
heat is I have a wood-fired sauna, which I use every day, and it's the great, it's one
how
of
do you
the,
make sure it's the right temperature? Is it like an offset smoker? Like you have to kind of fiddle
no,
with it for a
it's
while
amazing.
to get the right
It's
temperature?
time consuming.
Yeah.
No, I have a Finnish.
Okay, I don't care about your sauna. Let's see. What's this little bump?
You disagree with, defend him anyway. I have a job for, then go ahead and defend it. Bird hunting and fly fishing and or whatever.
Right,
And
right,
you
right.
don't. That's totally cool. But be honest about it. So if
What are you
your
talking about,
job is
dude?
to defend the right of free people to say what they really believe, then
Okay.
go ahead and defend it. And if
Okay.
somebody is not allowed to speak or fired from his job for having an opinion that you
Oh.
disagree with,
Oh, Tucker, your widow feelings hurt that you got fired from Fox News. Oh, you're so sour. Oh, that still hurts, doesn't it, Tucker? Oh, it's still owies. It's still owies that you don't work for Fox, doesn't it? You poor little guy. Oh, poor Tucker. Aw.
defend him anyway. I just interviewed a guy who is a black nationalist socialist. Okay, so I'm obviously not
Based in
much of a black
Epic.
nationalist. I don't know if you're aware
Based
of
in
that, but I'm not.
Epic.
And I'm not a socialist either. But this guy is facing prison time under the Biden DOJ because he said things they don't like about foreign policy. And I just interviewed the guy for an hour, and it was like, because on principle, you should be able to say what you think.
Mm. Let me back nationalist. Tucker Carlson. Who was that guy? Tucker? When was this released? This was released in April. I'm seeing people say that he platformed a white nationalist. So this was in. Hold on a second. We're gonna look together. Let's look at Tucker's. Let's take a look. Ooh, Shinigami Eyes does not like this man. No, no, no. So that was April. It was released in April. Hmm. I'm seeing a lot of white guys. Oh, is this guy? It looks like it's this guy. So this is going to get a little political. Let's see what this guy has to say.
So it was about 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, that Russian troops moved into.
Hold on. For the crime of repeating Russian misinformation. Ah, okay, cool. Let's see. Oh,
Yeshtela. Watch.
There's a discussion about Russian military border buildup on its border with Ukraine, and how this represents a terrible threat to Ukraine by Russians. But there is no acknowledgement of the history that took us to this place, how the U.S. overthrew, participated in facilitating the overthrow of a government in Ukraine that was friendly to the Soviet Union. Nor does it talk about the history of this relationship between Ukraine and Russia. And you have to remember that they're using NATO here too. And NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, was something that came into existence to deal with the Soviet Union, or Soviet Russia as it used to be called. And so this is an ongoing aggression. It did not just start, it's been going on for a while, but the US government relies on the ignorance of the people in this country and much of the world that's facilitated by people like Zuckerberg.
So you can agree or disagree with that analysis.
okay. So what's this guy's name? O'Malley. This is getting a little bit. Okay. What does your token have to say, Tucker? Okay. Mm-hmm. So he's been, like, he's sowing discord and spreading pro-Russian propaganda. Yup. The indicted intelligence officers, in particular, participated in covertly funding and directing candidates for local office within the United States. Yeah, so he was involved in, like, treason. So, Tucker, come on, dude. Come on, man. Oh God. Anyway, I've had about enough of this dude. He's crazy. He's just gone off the deep end. Like, I didn't really watch a lot of his rants on YouTube or on Fox, but God, this guy's crazy. This is a very light way to say invading Ukraine unprovoked and committing war crimes and mass murder after a decade of trying to destabilize Ukraine and colonize Crimea and Donbass. Yeah. Yeah, so US foreign policy does kind of suck, but yeah. Of course the Russian psyops are real. Uh, this is cringe. This is so cringe. All right. Let's see. My YouTube recommends are going to be garbage. Oh boy. See, I used to listen to this guy. Oh, Gutsick Gibbon. Erica, I love you. Erica is based in Epic. Ooh, this looks good. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
All right. Well, it is an honor to be here
Bro.
at the Compass.
Bruh. Why are you in fucking, like, how old is this? No, 9 years. So this is 9 years old. To be fair and balanced and, you know. Okay, let's just, I think this is like one of his uploaded like DVD specials or something. We'll just scooch that over. Scooch that over.
Conference once again. How many have been to one of my previous sessions before or seen one of my videotapes?
Right.
Okay, how many never have?
Let's just do this for
How many do not
fun.
understand the question so far? All right.
All
Good.
right.
As
Yeah,
he
play
said,
the
my name's
crowd.
Ken
Play
Hovind.
the
I taught high
crowd.
school science for 15 years. Brother Bill, I don't understand this apologetics stuff.
Oh, fun and relevant trivia
I don't
about
apologize at
Hovind.
all. I believe the Bible is literally true and scientifically accurate, and I think the evolution theory that's being taught in our schools is one of the dumbest and most dangerous religions on planet Earth. Okay.
Oh boy.
So,
Slam freaking dunk.
with
He spent
With
9
that
years
said,
in
let's get
prison.
started. This is
Yeah,
not my
the
that's just a picture of her.
he says this in like all of his
Last summer
freaking
was our
videos.
31st anniversary, and we sat down and figured out how much money we've spent since we got married. We have spent all of it. And praise God, she's with me here out at the table this week. You get to see my wife. She doesn't get to travel much. She's real involved in music at our church, and so you stop in and see her. We live in Pensacola, Florida. Been there for 16 years, and we have 3 kids, one of each. And I got all my kids married off, and the dog died, so I made it. I'm home free. It's wonderful. And we got 3.5 grandkids. And for those who don't know, grandkids are God's reward for not killing your own kids when you thought about it.
Oh,
Hang in
haha,
there.
funny.
It'll be
funny,
worth it all. Amen.
Funny.
All right.
He's so funny.
And all 3 of my kids and their spouses work in our ministry and all live right around us. God's given us an amazing staff. We got creation, science, evangelism, and dinosaur adventure land. We have an awesome time down there. A museum, theme park, and science center based on creation instead of evolution. I wish there were thousands of those across the country. So at Bill's request, we're covering today more reasons why evolution is stupid.
Okay.
Now,
Lay it
let
on
me
me.
define some terms and some positions. I believe the Bible teaches very clearly, and I believe the scientific evidence points very clearly to this earth being instantly created in 6 days, about 6,000 years ago, and a great big flood about 4,400 years ago that completely destroyed the world and dropped everybody's property value to 0. And then Jesus came 2,000 years ago, and so that's the top timeline, and that's the position I take, and I believe that's true and defensible scientifically. The evolution theory says 20 billion years ago there was a big bang where nothing exploded and made everything. And then 4.6 billion years ago the earth cooled down and developed a hard rocky crust, and it rained on the rocks for millions of years and turned them into soup, and the soup came alive about 3 billion years ago. And that first life form found somebody to marry, that's a good trick of course, and something to eat, and slowly evolved into everything we see today.
All right. So, yeah. So this is where not developing healthy media literacy and good critical thinking skills takes us. Because he sure did sound confident when he said all those things, didn't he? But he didn't really say anything. He didn't say or prove anything. But he sure is good at saying it. And so now we're listening to him. And he's captivated this whole super church and all of his viewers. And convinced him of this lie. Simply because he's really good at saying it. It has nothing to do with the substance of what he is saying. And I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to name names. But there are certain people on the internet that say things and it's just, they're not saying anything. but they're really, really good at saying it. And it might start at like opinions about a cartoon or a video game, perhaps. It might start with that. We're not saying names. We're not saying names today because honestly, it doesn't matter who is doing this. This is not just relegated to one individual person. It is a plague upon the internet. Because anybody can get in front of a computer and talk and get their ideas out there, and nobody's checking them. So it can start with cartoons. I'm just talking in general. I'm just speaking in general. That kind of speaking and like putting it on in the background and just nodding along and agreeing, it's so easy to do. But if you let yourself get trained to listening to that kind of crap when it's only about cartoons and video games, you're going to start listening when somebody said, hey, it's transphobic because of this, or this person's a Nazi because of this. And if you're not thinking about it, it's going to push it further and further and further until you're living in a completely different world from reality, because all you've done is filled your head with people who are really good at talking. You know, that's all you think about is these people that are super good at talking, and you don't look into it and you don't question it. That isn't to say that you shouldn't watch these things. I think you should. I think that everybody should be aware of people like Kent Hovind. And you should question everything. Chat, what's a pipeline? Yeah. So I just want to point that out there, that this is related to the content on my channel. I I fooled you. I tricked ya. I told you that this was kind of new and unrelated to what I have been making up until now, but it isn't, because this is what I care about. I care about people getting sucked into believing something that isn't true just because the person that told them that it was true was really good at saying it. That's something that is very important to me, and I bid everyone to learn to think critically and learn to think for themselves, and always ask why somebody is giving you a piece of information, regardless of how good they are at saying it. You should always question what that information means to that person and what context it's in. The old bait and switch. Yes, sir.
I think.
Also, this is senseless. It says 1 inch equals 150 years, and like I'm not going to measure it, but even if it's true for this, if that was true for this, then it all that doesn't make any sense. That's not how math works, Kent.
The evolution theory is not defensible scientifically. Let's define some more terms here. Stupid.
Yep. See how he's
lacking normal intelligence.
Not actually talking
Foolish,
about any of the science.
Silly. A stupid
He's
idea.
just saying
Now,
things.
I was taught by my mommy, don't use the word stupid, okay? So when Bill said, preach on why evolution is stupid, I said, that's going to be
He's
easy
just
to do, but it's going to be
basically
hard because
saying that evolution is wrong because evolution is wrong because atheists are stupid.
Trained in me since I was a little bitty, you know, you don't use that word. So I don't want to belittle anybody who believes in evolution here today, and I'm sure there are quite a few, that's fine. It's just not a common sense idea. It doesn't make sense. The things about evolution just simply are lacking normal intelligence.
Yeah, you sure keep saying
and we
that.
want to fix that today. Now, I collect science books. I taught science 15 years. I happen to love the subject. Stephen Richard Dawkins said, it's absolutely safe to say if you meet someone who claims not to believe in evolution, that person is ignorant, stupid, or insane, or wicked. Folks, there is
Richard
a battle going on,
Dawkins
whether
W.
you realize it or not, whether
Let's
you
go
understand
Richard
it or not, there's a
Dawkins.
war going on in our culture.
He phases it to make
and
it
there are
sound
two
dumb,
basic
absolutely.
sides. One side says, God made this world, he owns it, he makes the rules.
And you
The
see what
other
he's
side
doing.
said, no.
You see what he's doing is he's equating believing in evolution to being an atheist and to not believing in God. When it's not necessarily true. I mean, I'm an atheist and I believe in evolution, but there's plenty of Christians who believe in evolution as well. Like they're not mutually exclusive, but he's trying to drive a wedge in to the hearts of like scientific Christians, you know?
Nobody makes this world. There are
And
no.
I don't even know if did you guys even notice that? Did you guys notice he was doing that? That he was saying that being an evolutionist, believing in evolution precludes believing in God. Did you notice that he did that? Because I'm not calling anybody here stupid, but unless you know what to look for, I bet that one flew right over your head. Because I didn't notice it because I used to watch this guy. And I did not notice that until I started watching atheist YouTubers point it out. But it's very clever. He's very good at it. He knows what he's doing. But
No rules. And it's a real war going on, and I'm right smack in the middle of it and helping to stir it up occasionally. Okay.
it's so annoying when these people take Jewish
define
folklore
some
and
more terms
tradition
here.
and
The word
stories and
evolution has
interpret
at
them
least 6
literally when
different
they're not
meanings.
not
First,
what
we'd
we
have to
do
have
at all.
cosmic
Yep.
evolution, the origin of time, space, matter, the Big Bang, okay?
That's not evolution, Kent. Kent, that's not evolution. That's cosmology. Kent. That's not evolution. They are different things. They are different schools of thought. They are not even the same genre. But anyway. I want to know where Kent got his PhD in Christian education. Through correspondence, also unaccredited, Patriot University. Patriot University is a diploma mill. Yeah, that's what I thought. A run out of someone's house is amazing. Okay. So evolution is a biological, like, adaptation leads to change. Things will adapt to their environment and carry on those genetics to the next. So isn't all of this exactly how they tell you Satan tricks you? I mean, look at me. Look at me. Look at me. I'm clearly tricking you right now with my little. I'm literally a demon. Look at me. Oh god, I am not reading his thesis.
Secondly, we'd have to have
Not
chemical
right
evolution.
now.
That's where all of the elements are evolved from hydrogen.
What? Well, mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Ramiel is an angel sitting on my lap, and then I'm using it to seduce you into Satanism. Actually, I was looking into joining the Temple of Satan not too long ago. It's actually like a non theistic quote unquote religion. Like it's recognized um recognized as such. Unfortunately, they have a Nazi problem. Yeah. Made me sad. But yeah, the sun right now is creating atoms, so to speak. Like there's nuclear fusion going on in the sun right now, creating atoms. So yeah. Atoms get created all the time, my dude. Relax. Okay, let's keep going.
I think that's silly. We'll talk about that in a minute. Thirdly, there'd have to be stellar evolution. The stars would have to evolve.
We're don't you just yeah, atheistic Satanism uses Satan as a way of opposing the church itself. I know. But unfortunately the Temple of Satan is not one of those branches that I would like to join cuz yeah. Basically Satan is just their mascot. They don't actually believe in it. Anyway, yeah, we can generate matter with energy. Yeah. But we know we have a pretty good idea of where stars come from. Like matter clustering and basically like the density creating like a burning core and nuclear fusion happening. It's just so dense and so hot that it creates its own gravitational pull in which other like little particles of matter start orbiting it and then creating planetary disks. And then like those planetary disks, like the gravity starts pulling in the little floating clouds into lumps, which under their own gravity create like something more stable. And we have a pretty good like I learned about how stars I had a pretty good understanding of how stars were made when I was like 10. Jesus. Anyway. So none of
Cosmic
this is
evolution,
actually evolution.
chemical evolution, and stellar evolution. There's a lot of stars out there. The last estimate, in 2003, the most recent estimate is there are enough stars out there right now that we know about that everybody on planet Earth can own 11 trillion of them to yourself. Those are the ones we know about. We don't know about the ones that we don't know about. Fourthly, there's going to have to be organic evolution. Somewhere, somehow, life has to get started from non-living material.
Okay. Again, that is not evolution. That's abiogenesis, life coming from nothing. And we've basically done that in the lab. See, and then people will be like, oh, but we haven't actually created real life from, but it's like saying that, hey, I'm putting together this jigsaw puzzle and there's 100 pieces and I'm missing like maybe 10 pieces. Let's be generous. Let's be generous and say 20 pieces. We're missing 20 pieces of a 100-piece jigsaw puzzle. But I'm pretty sure that this jigsaw puzzle is like the final result is an elephant. I'm pretty sure it's an elephant because I have 80 of the 100 pieces. That's where we're at with evolution. It'd be kind of weird if some guy came up. It's like, actually, this is a picture of a I don't know of a snowy landscape on a hill, and there's like a little house. Like it's a house on a snowy landscape up in the hills. It's not an elephant. And you can't prove that it's not a snowy hill with a house on it because you don't have all the pieces. You're not going to get fully anatomically modern cell from abiogenesis. No, you are not. You could get, if you were to leave those organic we have organic molecules, but if you just left those organic molecules to grow, even if you sped them up to like 1,000,000 times, like if you were able to create a little time dialysis chamber, the end result might not be anything that resembles life as we know it. We don't know, because it's under different stressors than what life on Earth was put under when it was born. Um, and there's a reason why we don't see abiogenesis happen in nature, because it would have to happen in a really nutrient rich, like warm, moist environment. And the thing is that if you find that kind of place on Earth, what often happens is that small organisms eat up all the resources before biogenesis can happen again. So if you're getting eaten, it's kind of hard to abiogenesis, But yeah, we have kind of gotten pretty close to proving abiogenesis in the lab. It's really cool, actually. We have created organic molecules, and that's molecules that will organize themselves. Like, it's not just random structures, and they move around, and they basically eat, and it's really cool. So here we go. Macroevolution versus microevolution. And I would posit, where do you draw the line between macroevolution and microevolution? Yeah. And what creationists will often say is, if an animal can have, we're going to get into this a little bit later, but he's going to introduce the concept of kinds. And kinds are sort of like there is a dog kind, and what fits in the dog kind are foxes, wolves, the domestic dog, maybe hyenas and African wild dogs. And then there's the cat kind, which includes like lions, tigers, yada yada. Yeah, it's totally bullshit. It's basically, if something kind of, because they'll say that the human kind and ape kind are separate, but we're more closely related to chimps, for example, than chimps are related to their closest living relatives, like their closest extant relatives, like gorillas and orangutans and bonobos. So we're considered not to be ape kind, but catarrhine monkeys and like capuchins and like chimps and like all of them are the same thing. We're not included in that. And yet a dog and a fox, which are more further apart in their relation, are the same kind. I wonder what the platypus kind. I don't know. I've never heard Christians talk about the platypus kind.
Okay, fifthly, there'd have to be macroevolution, where an animal changes into a different kind of animal. And lastly, microevolution.
So wouldn't a bunch of microevolutions add up to be a macroevolution? By the way, micro and macroevolution are purely like a creationist thing. Like, we don't use that in like real science.
Evolution. I object to the term, but they use it. So I believe in number 6. That happens. I think variations happen within the kinds, but the first 5 are purely religious. I think, quite frankly, they're stupid.
Okay, so I don't know if he's going to go into this here, but basically, what Christians believe, what young Earth creationists believe, is that God created a prototypical kind, and within it, it had all of these different like variations in it. Like humans are able to have dark skin, they're able to have light skin, they're able to have blonde hair, they're able to have black hair, they have blue eyes, they can have brown eyes, they can have green eyes. They can be short, they can be tall, they can be skinny, they can be fat, and all of this information is loaded into our genes, and depending on the circumstances, different like sort of builds are picked from those genes, and eventually they degrade. And that's why we have cancer and stuff, because our genes have degraded so much. Because we were created perfect and we were just it's very confusing. So in the cat kind, for example, the belief is that God created the ability to, like, you could have a mane, you could have big teeth, you can be small, you can have stripes, you can have spots, you can be a calico, you can be completely black, you can have like white fur, you can have a tabby mixture. Like and all cats kind of just pick and chose which ones were suitable for that based on environmental pressures. And that's microevolution. So, yeah, that's what they think. That's what young Earth creationists think.
Okay, let's cover them here. Look at each of the first 5. Textbook says 18 to 20 billion years ago, all the matter in the universe was concentrated into one very dense, very hot region that may have been much smaller than a period on this page. That's stupid.
So he has still not yet actually. His definition of evolution is dogs regrowing their vestigial thumbs in a couple generations. Wow. So you'll also notice that he still hasn't actually come out against or provided any proof on his part. He's just saying, "Hey, here's this thing. I'm going to say it in as bad as faith as possible, and then I'm going to call it stupid." He's not actually like making an argument, but he is saying it very well.
And then there was a big bang where this little tiny dot exploded. That's stupid.
And the reason that he's good at speaking is because he's a priest. And that's basically all priests need to be good at, is speaking.
Okay? They don't tell you where the time came from, where the space came from, where the matter came from, where the energy came from. They just assume all of that is inherent in this little bitty dot, which came from nothing.
All right. So we know the conservation of matter, and we know that, like, you can't create energy from nothing. That can stump a lot of people. But I want you to think about antimatter. So what is antimatter? I wonder if I can. Yeah, let's pull up Photoshop. We're gonna have a little fun demonstration. Just give me a second while Photoshop opens. How are we doing anyway? Kind of really getting into the weeds with this one more than I thought we would. Have been streaming for what, 2 hours now? All right. So it's gonna make me. All right. I've decided I don't want to use Photoshop. Oh, I closed my Oh no. I'm gonna see my subscriptions. Here we go. What is happening? There we go. All right, don't worry about that. All right. Paint. We're using paint, boys. Hell yeah. Okay. Mostly just gaming now, but still listening. I'm doing fine. Glad to hear, guys. Okay, so we're gonna window capture, add source, new source, paint, window, MS Paint. Oh, beautiful, perfect. It's big though. Let's get this. Here we go. Mini Minuteman. Oh yeah, I love Mini Minuteman. Gossip Gibbon also is a big inspo for this for me. They are both like actual scientists though. I'm just a little wet doodle. I'm just a little guy. I am nowhere near as goated as those two. Okay. I'm hiding. Maybe hiding? Bam. Oh. Bam. But then he got weird. How did he get weird? How did he get weird? Please tell me. Because I'll stop watching him if he got weird. I didn't notice. Like, he seems pretty normal to me, but like maybe I'm missing something. But I'm always willing to hear other people's opinions. Okay. So, and like, forgive me because I'm drawing with my mouse. So, let's say I'm drawing with my mouse. Give me a break. 0. This is nothing. It's nothing insane. Okay. Well, if you want to talk about it with me in DMs, you can join my Discord and I will listen to you. He made a politics channel in his Discord and then banned everyone he disagreed with. Oh god. Ugh. Interesting. Okay. And let's say that something is +1. And let's say that antimatter, so 0 is nothing. And antimatter is -1. Does anybody know what happens when oh. Hello? Can I transparent? Paints ways of. So what yeah, we're doing math sort of. So what happens when antimatter and regular matter touch each other? Does anybody know? This is like a very basic physics thing. My little chat's a little bit slow. I think I'm on a little bit of a delay, but Oh, good luck, Sparrow. Hope your friend stream goes well. They cancel out. And they create ooh, give me my brush. And they create nothing again. I'm doing a really good job drawing. Under select, hit transparent selection. Oh boy. Oh, snappers. Perfect. Okay. I don't use Paint anymore. I haven't used Paint since like Windows XP. So if before the Big Bang there was nothing, and during the Big Bang, a bunch of hold on a second. Like a bunch and like there's more than five things in the universe. Right. I think we can all attest to that. But holy crap, from nothing, we started with nothing, and then all of a sudden, I have the right number, right? All of a sudden, we have a bunch of somethings before the Big Bang. Okay. So now what do we have? Now what do we have? When we have all of this now, what do we have? So we still have nothing. If you didn't catch that. Because we are still left because one, that's not one, take away one, and we'll just put a little positive one here, equals 0. So we still have the same amount of energy, the same amount of matter as we did during the Big Bang. And this is like I'm really dumbing it down here. This is very, very like simplified physics. But maybe yeah. Brain needs to chill on the patience, to be honest. Yeah. Yeah, no. There's still the same amount of energy. There's still this it all still comes together. As there being nothing. But yeah. I think there's something very strange realizing that. That not only like people like, oh, the biggest bang is when something came from nothing. It's like, yeah, but it still equals out to be nothing. And it's like, oh, what? What do you mean? But I just think it's really interesting. Myself that the same we're yeah, on a cosmological level, on a big zoomed out mathematical level, nothing happened. So yeah. It's a lot to think about, but I think it's really cool. I think it's neat that, like, despite everything, mathematically, the world still equals nothing. And for me, our whole universe was in a hot, dead state that nearly 14 years ago, Sheldon Cooper rose from the collective unconsciousness. You're fired. I'm banned, and reported for harassment. Okay. Now, let's see if I can get YouTube back. Bro, what is going on? Why is my YouTube so what? Look at this dude. I don't know why it's doing that, but what we're going to do is we're just going to gently... Yeah. Here we go. Here we go. At first, there was nothing, and then there was bazinga. The whole nothing really happened if you zoom out and math it is weirdly comforting. Yeah, isn't it? And like, I don't want to get too into my own beliefs, but like, I think that so long, Gay Bowser. So the way I see the world is that like we are just cosmic little specks that in the grand scheme of things, mathematically and cosmologically, we don't matter. But my friends matter to me, and I matter to my friends and my loved ones. I matter to my mom. I can make a difference in the lives of the people around me. And it might, you know, tens of millions of years ago, of years in the future, maybe even like hundreds of billions of years, when the heat death of the universe happens, like maybe everything I did will equal out to zero. But I'm not going to be there. I'm not going to be at the end of the universe during the heat death of everything that I've ever known. The only thing that I will ever know is the people around me, and to the people around me, that I matter. And that's everything to me. I don't know. Sometimes the real matter in life were the friends we made along the way. Exactly. Exactly, Squeakers. Wiser words have never been spoken. All right, let's keep going with this guy.
Who's ever seen a Big Bang create order?
Who's ever seen a Big Bang create order? Okay.
Big Bangs don't create order. That's stupid. Big Bangs create big messes. The human
I would love to see it. I also think Golden Compass really helped me on that kind of journey. What's her name? The professor, the university, from the university in Will's world, had like a deep and profound effect on me. But yeah, I'd love to see a comic. Again, if you're yeah, the universe is a big mess. Yeah, out there.
Manifesto says humanists regard the universe as self-existing and not created.
So now we're comparing humanists to evolutionists to atheists. These are very different things, sir.
Well, the second law of thermodynamics tells us everything is falling apart. If you leave something alone for a while, it's going to rot, rust, die, break down, or fall apart. Nothing gets better by itself. So to say that the universe is self-existing is stupid, okay? It violates the second law of thermodynamics.
Yeah.
Evolution is...
And we already spoke about this, how it actually doesn't, because also there was like antimatter and negative energy that was made. So yeah, nothing has been lost.
Say, well, yeah, you can add energy, though, and overcome the second law.
Nothing's
And they
been
say the Earth is
added.
an open system. It receives energy from the sun. I understand. But the universe is a closed system, by definition.
Yes,
Secondly,
but that's why we have antimatter.
There has to be something to utilize the energy.
Yeah.
Adding energy is going to make it worse, okay? The Japanese added all kinds of energy to Pearl Harbor one day.
What are you fucking talking about? Oh my god. We're just going all over the place, aren't we?
They didn't organize nothing for us.
Hee Pearl Harbor.
A couple of years later, we returned the favor and added energy to a few of their cities, didn't we?
Ooh,
Yeah.
not
Adding
bragging.
energy is destructive. So
Not
the sun's energy is
bragging
going to
about
destroy the roof
Hiroshima.
on your house. It'll destroy your entire house.
What is with? What is with Christian fundamentalists? What is with these people? The Big Bang was an explosion, but explosions are bad. Yeah. I would like to beg your biggest, thickest, girthiest pardon. Yeah. I want this on a t-shirt. Just this on a t-shirt. The sun's energy will destroy your entire house. That is a threat. Remember, racism is what's with these people. True.
The sun's energy will destroy the roof on your car. It'll destroy the paint job on your car. Adding energy is not the solution. You have to have intelligently directed and harnessed energy. So to say that you can overcome the second law by adding energy is stupid.
I want to look at. Hold on. Those look awfully organized to me. Huh. No, that's not what I want. That's just one example. And like, that's a pretty explosive event, as lava reaching the Earth's surface at a volcano or mid-ocean ridge. It's usually quite destructive and explosive and intense, and yet But these couldn't have formed because, you know. Or how about this? This looks pretty organized. But I think basalt columns are really good because they literally look like stepping stones, but they're not. They were made that day sometimes. Well, not that day, but within days or even just a few years, we have watched basalt columns form. We can observe that, like, organization is coming from something explosive and destructive. Because science is cool. Seeing both those pics and just thinking about candle ice. Hold on a second, I'm gonna look this up. If anybody wants to send me anything, huh? That's cool. Oh, I think I know what it's talking about. Yeah. Yeah. Because it freezes straight up and down, right? And you can just move through it. But sometimes it rots, and that's so cool. I want to eat that. Oh, I want to eat that ice. Yum, yum, yum. I want more iced tea. Anyway. Tasty. Forbidden drink. I could look up something, but you can also send me direct things on Discord. Hold on a second, let me. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go ahead and youtube.com. Where's my Discord? White people. Copy link. So right now I'm putting on my community page a link to the Discord. So if you would like to, you can go in there. You can either send me links directly, or you can go into the pins on the general channel, and there's a Christian fundamentalist tag thread, and you can send me things right there, right through there, if you would like. And just send me whatever link you like. All right, I got sent a link. All right. Oh, it's not really centered, is it? All right, I am alone. I look at the heavens and I think them empty. And if not empty, I find the idea of worshiping whatever dwells there obscene. But why do you continue? It doesn't change what is right. There is nothing but what we make in this world, brothers. Let us make good. Exactly. If there's nothing but what we can make, then we should try to be good, I think. I think that's a better argument of being good and morality than, like, you do it because God told you to. That's just my onion, though.
It's just not that simple. Evolutionists assume that if you give enough time, things get better. That's silly, okay? You give things time, they get worse. Here's Sue at 20. Here she is at 90. Okay. They don't.
Kind of a MILF, honestly. Kind of a MILF. Okay.
They don't get
Also, that's like a cartoon, so.
better.
Also, not Ken Tovin being a fucking creep. People age, therefore evolution isn't real.
Textbook says nothing really means nothing. That's stupid.
You already
Not
talked
only
about
matter
this.
and energy would disappear, but also space and time. However, physicists theorize that from the state of nothingness, the universe began in a gigantic explosion. Yes, boys and girls, you see, one day, nothing exploded. And here we are.
He also got
There's
worse
no kind
over
way to say it,
time.
okay? That's stupid. That's lacking normal intelligence, all
Didn't
right?
he, though?
Here's Discover magazine a couple years ago. Where did everything come from? Boys and girls, the universe burst into something from absolutely nothing. Zero, nada. As it got bigger, it became filled with even more stuff that came from absolutely nowhere. That's real stupid.
Yeah, we've already covered this.
The
Also,
observable
like,
universe could have evolved from an infinitesimal region, this guy
yeah,
said.
it
It's
didn't
then tempting
evolve.
to go
It
one
didn't
step-
evolve. Nobody said it evolved. You also go, if evolution is real, why don't people grow wings and shoot lasers eyes when they get older? Checkmate atheists. Yeah.
further and speculate that the entire universe evolved from literally nothing. It all came from a dot. That's stupid. I'm sorry, it just is, okay? So the Bible says, in the beginning, which is a reference to time, which, by the way, has three dimensions, past, present, future, a trinity, and you can't escape time.
Mm-hmm.
God created the heaven, that's space, which has three dimensions, length, width, height. You can't escape space. Where can
See,
you
look,
be
I
where you're
can
not
do
in
this
space
too.
or in time?
I can do this too. I can do this too, Kent. So you're telling me that some guy who didn't actually exist, he exists outside of existence, created this huge universe, this infinitely expanding universe with all these stars and all these planets and like all these beautiful things out in space, and then he just decided to make his chosen people live on a rock. Just did we cover virtual particles and the fact that we can't create a perfect vacuum because little tiny blips keep popping in and out of existence? Oh yeah, I love quantum physics. Yum 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 yum. Yum. Tasty. I want to lick quantum physics right now, but I can't. Because you know why? Because you can't actually come into contact with anything. I can't actually lick quantum physics because if I try to, my tongue will never actually touch them because, you know. Anyway, that joke is really malformed. But basically, the closer you get to a particle, particle gets to another particle, the further, the stronger the forces that push them away. And that's what creates the physical sensation of touching something, is actually two things pushing away from each other. The Trinity. Oh, yeah, the Trinity's great. So, see, I like the Trinity as like a fun mythology thing because it's kind of cool. I kind of like things that like are contradictory and don't really make sense. But basically, God the Father, God the Son, and the Holy Ghost are all three different things, but they're also the same thing. No, we're not a polytheistic, religion, but the Trinity is also one, all for one and one for all. Yeah.
You can't escape them. It permeates everything. And God created the earth. You know, matter comes in three dimensions, solid, liquid, gas.
There's also other ones.
In 10 words. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Time, space, matter. All three have to come into existence at the same instant. If you had matter but had no space, where would you put it? If you had matter but had no time, when would you put it? You have to have all three simultaneously. People say, what did God do for millions of years before the creation? Well, your question assumes that God is stuck in time, space, matter. We are the ones stuck in time, space, matter. He's not stuck in those.
I mean,
See,
this
if
is really
God was
cool
limited by
sci-fi
time,
concept.
he's not God.
I should write a book about this.
This is not
I'm gonna call it the
2004 in
Bible.
heaven. There is no time in heaven. And before the creation, there was no time. So once upon a time, there was a time when there was no time. Think about that one. Anyway. So when the textbook says nothing
Time
really
is
means
like
nothing, that's stupid.
time is like I'm getting really metaphysical right now. Time only exists we only perceive time as existing because we're moving through it. You know? Just now noticing the Florida address. Yeah, sounds about right. Yeah, Ken Hoven's in Florida. You should go, Squeakers, you should go and covertly videotape a run through of one of his little museums because he has a creationist museum. Tell us how it goes. Oh, do you guys know that Ken Ham is making so he's the guy that made the Ark Encounter. Sorry to distract again. Hmm. Oh, that's not good. Uh-oh. That's not good. uh I don't know if you guys know, but I've got Shinigami Eyes installed because I installed it many years ago and just never bothered to uninstall it, but that's not good, bestie. So this is just this is Ken Ham's boat. He lights it up you can see here he lights it up rainbow to reclaim the rainbow from the gays. And it's a creation museum. It talks about how, you know, you got some cool little exhibits there. It's a great piece of theater, honestly. Oh yeah, dinosaurs were on the ark. Um, do you know? don't nobody Google this. I don't want anybody to Google this. I just want you to make a wild guess what Ken Ham's next project is. Just take a wild guess what attraction he's making next. He did get financial help, but just guess what his next museum project is. His next big building. His next big attraction, what he's planning for. Just a wild guess, no Googling. Because you guys are going to love this. Now, now, now I'll admit, it's been a while. It's been a very long time. It's been a very long time since I've been a Christian. It's been 12 years, 13 years, maybe a little bit longer. I was starting to lose my faith around 15, honestly. And I'm 31 now, so it's like more like 16 years. is when I started to question things. And then when I was like 18, I was like, you know what, this is stupid, and I left. Um, so it's been a few years, but I'm pretty sure, yeah, I'm pretty sure the moral of the story of the Tower of Babel is don't build the Tower of Babel. And I don't want anybody to get hurt, but I think it would be really funny if, like, when nobody was around, if it if it collapsed. I don't want anybody to get hurt, I just think it would be really funny if it, like, fell down. I just think it would be really funny. Oh, I don't know if I read the same book of Genesis as Christians, but I don't think the Tower of Babel was meant to be a good thing. Yeah. Hi, we're just talking about Ken Ham's next project on, why Christianity is so good, and he's gonna build the Tower of Babel. I think it's very obvious there was it is about humanity's arrogance, yeah. If God is real, he'll have Ken's ass for this. Listen, I would reconsider Christianity. I would reconsider Christianity if this was a disaster, like, if this just collapsed or something. Tower of Babel. Ew. Oh, God. I'm very excited for this, actually. I really wanna see how this progresses. It would be so funny if it fell, though, if it collapsed. He's also crowdfunding a golden calf statue? What? I am not seeing that. Yeah, I'm not seeing that come up. It would be funny if Ken Ham had a stroke and lost the ability to speak after this. No, I don't want him to get hurt. No. No, we don't want that. Sponsored by Bad Dragon, leave. At long last, you have created the Torment Nexus from classic sci-fi novel Don't Create the Torment Nexus. Yeah, I'm I don't think we should give Ken Ham money, but I do think it would be really funny if he tried to build it and it was a disaster. I think it would be very fucking hilarious. Anyway. But this is Kent Hovind, who is a different guy.
Okay? It's just not
He also has a creationist museum, but it's not a big boat.
common sense. None of these things can create themselves. Time, space, and matter cannot create themselves. They have to have an outside force, like an all-wise, all-powerful, almighty, infinite God to
Says
create
who?
those things. Then the
Says
textbook
who?
says this little tiny dot was spinning. It spun faster and faster. Yes, boys and girls, and one day it exploded. Big bang. Well, if you take a merry-go-round and put some kids on there, get the merry-go-round going clockwise as fast as it'll go, the kids go through distinct phases. In phase one, they're screaming at the football players. Come on, let's go fast.
What are you talking about? Oh, sorry. I didn't. It's just my YouTube recommends. I'm sorry. I'll hide her. for courtesy.
Faster. You get up around, 30 miles an hour. They go to phase 2, where they stop screaming. Then you get going faster, and you get around 60 miles an hour, they start screaming again, but now they're screaming.
Kids don't like it when you hurt them on the playground equipment, therefore, evolution is fake.
Stop, please, slow down. When you get up around 100 miles an hour, you enter phase 4, where the kids begin to fly off the merry-go-round. Now, when the kid flies off, you notice something interesting. As the kid is flying off the merry-go-round, if the merry-go-round is going clockwise, the kid, even after he leaves, is spinning clockwise until he encounters resistance, like a tree or telephone pole. That's because of a law known as the conservation of angular momentum. A spinning object that breaks apart will send all the fragments off spinning in the same direction. And people say, well, what if they collide? They can't collide. The longer you wait, the further apart they get. It's like spokes on a wheel. They're getting farther apart. If a hand grenade explodes, can the fragments ever hit each other out in the field someplace? No, it doesn't happen, okay? Conservation of angular momentum says spinning objects break apart and the fragments fly the same.
Okay, hold on a second. I'll let you get a little pay. So it does seem that like most things do spin in one direction. Interesting. I sped my kid in a merry-go-round, and all I did was throw up. He didn't evolve into a dolphin. Atheist 0, God 1. Why do we have completely decked out football players at the merry-go-round? I don't know. When I was a kid, I never yelled to stop. I just threw up, for real, for real. Yeah, well, you're made of better stuff than the children in Kent Hovens. Yeah, so it looks like it did do that.
Direction, spin the same direction.
Yeah.
So when they tell you that it all came from a spinning dot, it's silly. It violates common sense laws. 2 planets, Venus and Uranus, are spinning backwards. 8 of the 91 known moons are spinning backwards. 3 planets have moons going both directions at the same time.
Yeah,
some whole galaxies are spinning backwards.
Yeah, and just because
CNN,
like
goofy galaxies spin.
Well, galaxies do collide. We're watching it happen right now. But also like just because even if galaxies couldn't collide doesn't mean that like we've seen asteroids collide into moons and other planets like within the past few years. And if it's big enough, it can knock them out of orbit. And yeah. So, but he's like making like these big suppositions and like common sense also says you should pay your taxes. Also, I'm gonna be real. This is like an hour and a half long video. And we're 11 and a half minutes through, so we're not gonna get through all of this.
Wrong direction.
Yeah.
The Big Bang Theory is stupid, okay? In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. So when they tell you it spun faster.
Also, galaxies, like there wasn't just like an explosion and the galaxies like were already pre-formed. They formed after the Big Bang. So has this guy not gotten into or seen a car crash? Unfortunately not.
Faster, and one day it exploded. That's simply stupid, okay? That's not the way it happened. So we have cosmic evolution, which I think is silly.
It's
Then
not
we have,
evolution.
The textbook says, as the earth formed, the surface was hot and there were large pools of bubbling lava. Was the earth ever a hot molten mass like the textbook says? The Bible says the Spirit of God moved on the face of the waters. The Bible says God created it cold, not hot. See, everything about the evolution theory is backwards to the Bible. Don't try to compromise those two, okay? It's like trying to ride two horses going different directions, same time, okay? Robert Gentry's got a great book on the radio polonium halos. Gentry's a brilliant man. I think he's spoken at the conference, hasn't he? I've spoken with him at a couple conferences. I don't know if it was stealing the mind or not, but brilliant man, lives near Knoxville, Tennessee.
But again,
he's done lots of study.
He has not actually like come out and proven anything. He's just saying a bunch of things in a very direct, assured voice. And he's got a whole congregation believing him because he's good at saying it. And I think that's really interesting that he hasn't actually come up with any evidence other than saying, "Hey, this is stupid, and I don't think it should work that way."
On the granites around the world, the granites all contain these radiopolonium halos, which have an extremely short half-life, proving they were never a hot molten mass. But these radiopolonium halos tell us absolutely positively the Earth was never a hot molten mass. And if you melt granite and let it cool back down, it doesn't form into granite again. Nobody knows for sure how granite was made.
If you can see that. I'm on the wrong. Yeah. So whenever a creationist makes a claim like that, like, "Oh, we don't know where this comes from," just Google it. So granite is formed inside volcanoes, and then during erosion, it's exposed. It's exposed to the air. Oh, here we go.
Granite is some of my favourite rocks. They make up a large part of the Earth's continental crust too, but you can also find them in the human world used as decorative stones on the front of buildings and even in kitchen counters in cafes and in your own home. But what actually are granites? How do they form? Where would you find them? Let's dig in and find out.
Geology is really cool. Let's go lick some rocks. Yeah!
I love this guy. This is amazing. But you can find people like, and Ken Hovind claims to be an expert on all of these things. Like, he knows how it works. So, but if you just find a guy hyper focusing on one little thing, yeah, granite, like in Minecraft.
Hello, fellow rock nerds. My name is Brooke, and I'm a geologist. Granites are coarse-grained igneous rocks that are rich in silica, aluminium, and potassium-bearing minerals.
Aluminium.
Thing is, even though granite is some of the most common crystalline rocks, for a long time they've been a bit of a mystery. Geologists had no idea how they actually formed. We know where basalt and other volcanic rocks come from because we can see them erupt from volcanoes. So geologists reasoned that if we can see basalt erupt from a volcano, so when we find a rock like a gabbro, which has the same chemistry and mineralogy as a basalt.
And here's the thing, is that this is just kind of how science works, is that it's like, hey, we actually don't know, let's find out. Whereas Christianity is like, this is how this thing works, and like, when we disprove that this is how something works, that's where we find something called apologia. So we predicted, as he was saying, that granite came from volcanoes. Science predicted that. And a phrase that I've heard be said many times is that science predicts and then creationism accommodates. And I think you can expand that out to be if somebody has to accommodate their theory, it's not a very like if they have to like accommodate their theory and make the it's different than predicting and like if you get a prediction wrong, you change like if we found that like actually no, this isn't where it's formed this way. We've been wrong about things before. But anyway. But just keep that in mind. Like creationism and in general propaganda accommodates. But science predicts. Love in the air, wrong. Rocks.
Except it's coarse-grained, we know it must have had a similar origin with being derived from partial melting of the mantle. It's just been emplaced at depths, so the crystals have cooled slowly and had a long time to grow. The thing is, we can't quite do that for granites, though, because even though there are things like rhyolites, which are silica-rich volcanic rocks that have a composition very similar to granites, the occurrence of rhyolites doesn't explain the types of chemistries and mineralogies and occurrences that we see in all the different types of granites. And that's because granites form deep underground in places that humans and our instruments can't get to, so we can't watch them as they form, the same way that we can watch basalt? The same way we can watch basalt being erupted and forming. Another way that granites are different from basaltic rocks is the way that they interact with the host rocks that you find them with. Basaltic rocks tend to erupt and form sheets and walls that we call sills and dikes, whereas granites form huge underground blobs we call batholiths, and these batholith structures seem to have violently intruded other rocks as though the granite blasted into the host rock coming up from below, but often there's very little of that original host rock remaining. So where does that millions of tons of rock go? It can't just disappear. So we need to explain that while we're also explaining how granites form. Finally, while some granites are found in association with basaltic rocks and in volcanic settings where you'd expect to find igneous rocks, other granites are found in places that are not associated with any kind of volcanism, like in the core of mountain ranges or in the middle of thick continental crust. So the mysterious origin of granites for a long time was known as the granite problem. And if there's something geologists like, it's a problem to solve, especially one that involves rocks. Some geologists pointed out that the chemistry of granites and rhyolites is very similar, which I already said. The reason that
all right, so again, this is kind of like an example of like, hey, we can see how all these other rocks have formed, but we're missing this one piece, the granite piece of the puzzle piece. But if I am only missing this one piece of a puzzle that has 100 pieces, and I can look at it and be like, yeah, I'm pretty sure this is a puzzle of a dog. I'm pretty sure when I've got all the pieces, I'm going to see a dog. It would be really silly that just because I'm missing this one piece, a random person comes up to me, it's like, actually, I think that puzzle, when you're all finished, is going to be a cloud, and you can't prove me wrong because you don't have the last piece. You don't know what it's going to come together to be like. You can't make a fair estimate and like a scientifically accurate estimate of what that final picture is going to look like because you're missing this one little piece of the puzzle. And like when you kind of put it that way, you realize how silly the arguments against evolution and science really are.
granites must be the final stages in a process called fractional crystallization.
Anyway, we're not gonna watch this whole video, but like clearly this is like well-trodden thing. Geology Johnson is what this guy's name is. If you want to go subscribe. He's got, he's doing pretty good. He's doing better than I am. But if you like rocks, this guy seems pretty cool. I haven't vetted him. These 3 dislikes are from Kent Hovind, and his burner accounts. I'm sure. Yeah. Granites are my favorite igneous rock. What's yours? Imagine having like a favorite igneous rock. What a way to start a conversation. Hey, what's your favorite igneous rock? But yeah, go watch him. He seems like a really cool educator. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Let's cover up Ethel again.
So when the textbook says the Earth was a hot molten mass, I'm sorry, that's stupid. It's not true. It's lacking normal intelligence. It didn't happen that way. Secondly, we have to have, or thirdly,
proof.
Secondly,
Source.
chemical evolution. All the elements forming from hydrogen, they think it all came from a big bang. Atoms of hydrogen in the proto-sun were fused together to form helium. Okay, I'll agree that can happen. But it's stupid to think that's going to form all the elements. They say, well, yeah, you can fuse and get, hydrogen fuses to helium. I agree. And you can't fuse past iron, though. It won't go past iron. How do you telling me you got uranium from hydrogen? I'd like to see that, please. It's lacking normal intelligence. It just...
Okay. Sorry, we're expanding this out again. I searched how is uranium formed, by the way. Remnants of hundreds of supernovae have been found. More recently, a second theory has proposed that uranium is created during the merger of two neutron stars. Neutron stars are very dense, with a teaspoon of neutron star material having a mass of order up to 5 million tons. Yeah, okay. Uranium was apparently formed as supernova about 6.6 billion years ago. While it is not common in the solar system today, it is slow reactive decay provides the main source of heat inside the Earth, causing convection and continental drift. So yeah, it's not formed in our sun because our sun's not a supernova. But basically, what happens is like the supernova are so strong that light is a form of radiation too. Whenever you see light, that's radiation of some kind. It's just that not all radiation can hurt you, right? It's just energy radiating from a source, and photons are a kind of energy radiating from a source. So anyway, so basically what happens is like these very powerful supernova are just radiating all this energy, and some of that energy and like not just energy but like matter is uranium. And it basically it's like if you popped a water balloon with a needle like on one side of the room, or like you took like a shower head and you like held it up and it was like spraying water. Like it's kind of like that effect, and then it like splashes off and it might hit some rocks or like hit your hand or like hit some trees or some leaves, or like if you popped it in the middle of the room, like you might find water basically everywhere, like all over the place. Now that's like a very like simplification of how radiation works, but just understand that whenever you see a point of light, you are seeing a visible form of radiation, because light is both a particle and a wave, and particles are matter. It's like when my dad sprays me with the hose. Yeah, kind of. Get irradiated, idiot. But that's how easy it is. Like, don't just take their word for it when they say things like.
Doesn't happen. Chemically, it's not possible. Thirdly, there'd have to be what's called stellar evolution. The stars would have to evolve. The Bible says God made the stars. Plain and simple, that's just what it says.
We've seen new stars forming in the sky, by the way.
Was the Big Bang, which caused the
like
formation
we've observed
of
that.
galaxies. Well, we got a real serious problem here. Big Bang theory says nothing got together and exploded while it was spinning and formed all these galaxies. Well, problems are multitude for this theory, okay? Some think the Big Bang theory made nice, neat,
and we've
orderly
tackled
galaxies.
this. We've tackled this already.
These galaxies are really incredibly designed. Even at the galaxy level, there's design in the universe, all the way down to the molecular level.
Dude, you take like a fucking, like, if you take like, uh-oh, I broke? I'm not broken, I'm fine. Yes, this is Kenthoven. We're talking about Kenthoven today. Yeah. Basically, if you take, like, for instance, some soup. Let's just say you have a bowl of soup, and it's got noodles, and it's got little vegetables, and it's got little pieces of barley, and you start spinning that really, if you start stirring that really, really quickly, you might see and you might notice that some things clump together. So, like, it is not a one-to-one comparison, but it's just, like, kind of an example of how, like, things can create patterns in what seems to be chaos. It's really easy to do that, you know? We talked about basalt earlier and how it forms, like, these hexagonal patterns, these pillars that look like stepping stones. Kent Hovind is a young Earth creationist. So
We see a star blow up about every 30 years. A star explodes. It's called a nova or a supernova.
yeah, we've seen them be born as well.
If the universe is billions of years old, why are there less than 300 supernova rings ever discovered? That's only a few thousand years worth. I mean, if a star is blowing up every 30 years,
because they're really far
there
away.
would be millions of these supernova rings if the
We can't
universe
see
were
them
millions
all.
of years old. Don't tell me
Watching
it's
soapy
millions of
water
years old. I don't
swirl in a
believe
little
you.
tornado
That's
down a
just not
drain.
common
Exactly.
sense. They say, well, yeah, new stars are forming. They say, this textbook says, new stars are constantly being born in clouds of gas and dust.
Yeah.
First of all, that's not ever observed, okay?
Yes, it is.
The silent embarrassment of modern astrophysics is we do not know how even a single one of these stars managed to form. You can't get dust and squeeze
Yeah. So here's a bunch of people that are studying stars being formed. Orion Nebula is one of the most famous star-forming regions, bright enough to be visible without a telescope. So, yeah. But yeah, it's a whole branch of science. All right. But you see how he just says something and he's like, "Yeah, this is true." And it's literally just not true. He's like, "Yeah, we've never watched this. We've never seen this happen." And it's like we literally see this happen all the time. So, we're going to let him go for a few more minutes, but I'm only going to put up with this guy for a little bit longer, I think.
it together and make a star. There are common sense laws that overcome that, like Boyle's gas law. You try to squeeze the gas together, the pressure builds up and it drives it back apart. Nobody ever sees gases form into solids by their own internal gravitational force.
Yeah, because we've never brought that much gas together outside of, that would be really hard to do. And on Earth, um, the gravity of the Earth and the gravity of the sun is acting on it, like, so it's a little a little hard for that to happen on Earth or where we can observe it.
So if stars
but we do watch it in other places in our observable universe.
evolve Star births should at least equal star deaths. And we're seeing one die every 30 years, and we're never seeing one form.
Yes, we do.
One guy said, oh, we're seeing a star form right now in Crab Nebula. I said, no, you're not. He said, yeah, we are. I said, no, you're seeing a spot getting brighter.
Oh my
you see
God.
a spot, and it's getting brighter, and you're assuming a star is forming. Well, duh, it could be a dust cloud is clearing in front of it. It could be another big bang going off, a supernova going off out there. All you're seeing is a spot getting brighter. You're assuming it's making a new star. Nobody's ever seen a new star form. Some people think if we lose stars every 30 years and never replace them, this will eventually lead to having 70 sextillion stars. Yeah, you keep spending money, pretty soon you'll be rich. That's stupid, okay? It just is stupid, okay?
So yeah, he's just
Some of
basically
these planets are cooling
very
off. They're
assuredly
constantly
saying that
losing
something
their heat,
is right,
okay?
and
the
yeah,
textbooks is
it's
telling
just
us
not.
they're millions of years old, billions of years old. You can't just keep cooling off and cooling off. Pretty soon it's cooled
Space
off.
kind of reminds you of fractals. Yep.
I mean, if you walked into a room and found a cup of coffee sitting on the table, and I said, don't touch the coffee, that's hot. And you said, well, whose is it? I said, I don't know, it's been sitting there for 400 years.
Did you know that the red spot on Jupiter is only a few hundred years old? It's about 300 years old. So when Jupiter was first observed, it probably didn't have a red spot. Isn't that kind of weird?
That's stupid, okay? Jupiter has a moon called Ganymede, which has a very strong magnetic field. Scientists are kind of perplexed by this because the magnetic field indicates a hot molten core, and yet Ganymede should have cooled off billions of years ago. Why does Ganymede still have a hot molten core and a strong magnetic field?
The moon might also have a molten core. Yeah, the red spot is a storm.
To say it's billions of years old is stupid. It's just lacking common intelligence. Saturn has rings around it, but the rings are constantly expanding. They're moving away from the planet. To say they're billions of years old is stupid. They can't be billions of years old. They would have been dissipated.
Most of the gas giants have rings. BT dubs. We just can't see all of them. You could even argue that the Earth has rings, but it's not very dense. Saturn just has very dense rings that we can see. But like things orbit planets in particles in this way all the time.
By now. They're not billions of years old. The moon is going farther away from the Earth every year. We're slowly losing the moon. Now this is going to be complicated, so listen carefully. As the moon goes around the Earth, it's gradually getting farther away. It's spiraling out about 3 inches a year. So that means that it used to be closer.
Yes.
Well, if you bring the moon in closer, you start to create a problem, you see, because the moon...
Kent, you are assuming that it started very, very close rather than like it impacted the Earth is the belief right now, I think. And it just kind of started whizzing off, and then it was caught in the gravitational pull and started orbiting it, and it's getting farther and farther all the time. All right, I'll let him make one more point.
Causes the tides. Now you folks here in Denver probably don't worry about the tides. But in Pensacola, you worry about the tides, okay? Well, if you brought the moon in closer, you'd create a serious problem because there's a law called the inverse square law. If you bring the moon into 1/3 the distance, you take the 1/3, inverse it, square it, it's 9 times the gravitational pull. If you run all the math on this, you'll find 1.2 billion years ago, the moon was whizzing around just above the surface of the Earth.
Yeah.
That explains what happened to the tall dinosaurs. They got moon.
That's not how it works. We don't know if that distance was constant as well.
So,
it probably isn't.
To teach us the moon is billions of years old while it's constantly moving away, and nobody knows of any factors that would reverse that situation, that's just stupid, okay? It can't be true. Organic evolution is the 4th stage. That's where life gets started from non-living material.
Okay.
The Bible says God created the living creatures, and there are folks who simply don't want God telling them what to do, bottom line. God, leave
We're
me
getting
alone,
closer.
stay out of my life. Okay. So they got to
But
figure
this
out a
is
way how life got here
abiogenesis.
without involving a supernatural intelligence creating it. The Bible says God created it. This textbook says the history of life on earth began approximately 3.5 billion years ago. How this occurred and has been and will continue to be a topic for inquiry. Let me give you the Hovind translation. It's okay to inquire how life evolved. It is not okay to inquire whether it evolved. That's stupid.
What?
Is this education or indoctrination? Hey kids, we know life evolved, now you got to try to figure out how it happened. How about if we even question, did it evolve? Oh no, you can't question.
Well, we know it evolved because we have a fossil record that creates a very smooth transition between like basal forms and derived forms. We know this not just because of looking at extant life. It predicted, looking at extant life, which is the opposite of extinct, by the way. We made a prediction that, hey, maybe these things are related. And we looked at their bones, so we looked at like fossils that we found. It's like, hey, this kind of looks like this thing, and that thing kind of looks like that thing, and they kind of all come back and seem to funnel off into like a starting point. That's kind of interesting. And then we also studied genetics and found it's the same thing. We have genetics in common with our most closely related um, species, which for us is chimps. And we're the closest living relative of chimps, and we're chimps closest living relative, just like how my sister is more closely related to me than my cousin or my grandmother, and I'm more closely related to my mother and my father than my uncle or my aunt. And we can trace this back genetically for basically everything on Earth. Not basically everything, for everything on Earth. Oh, 3D model of the moon. Very nice, very nice. This man is such a smooth brain. He must be of the koala kind. Okay, we're gonna let him go all the way down to macro and microevolution because he's getting close, but this is also not evolution. This is abiogenesis, I think, is what he's talking about now.
That. You cannot question that. We know it evolved, now just figure out how it happened.
Yeah.
That's not education.
We've done that already,
That's
though.
indoctrination. Urey and Miller
Yeah,
in the
you would know all about
1950s
that,
wanted
wouldn't
to know
you?
how the Earth and solar system had come to be. At the bottom it says, he never proved how life originated. He did add evidence to the theory that life could have started by itself. Life started by itself.
And we've basically proved that.
Okay?
But
life cannot start.
But even supposing that we didn't know that abiogenesis can happen, even if we haven't shown that it could happen in a lab, again, imagine if you had like a 200 or even like 100 jigsaw puzzle of an elephant, and you were missing like a couple pieces. Even if you were missing 50% of the pieces, you could probably make a good guess that it's an elephant rather than like a house in a snowstorm or a unicorn or clouds. I think that you could even distinguish it from something that would resemble it, like a rhinoceros, because you would be able to be like, hey, here's the trunk. I can tell that this picture is of an elephant. And we have a lot more than just half the pieces. You know what I mean? So even if there are some little bits and pieces of abiogenesis that we're still proving, we have proven that that our organic molecules will form if you just kind of let them do their thing.
By itself. This textbook says, swirling in the waters of the oceans is a bubbling broth of complex chemicals. Progress from a complex chemical soup to a living organism is very slow.
Not
That's
that
stupid.
slow.
Can you believe they cut down a tree to
Not as
print
slow
that
as you'd
book?
think.
Where's Al Gore when you need him?
How many trees are destroyed every year so that religious propaganda can be printed and distributed to the masses? One tree, roughly 10,000 pages. Average Bible is 1,200 pages. Yeah. 7 billion Bibles. For all-time sales of the Bible, almost 850 trillion trees. So what happened? Why is my exit full screen mode? There we go. Just a fun little estimate. Like, this isn't like a scientific paper, but just a fun little estimate, just for fun.
Yeah. Here we have
Anyway.
4 major magazines and news media, Scientific American, CNN, New Scientist. They're all saying life sprang from clay. Yes, a piece of clay created life.
Yep.
Well, that's stupid.
You believe
I
that
think
too,
God could take clay
actually.
and create life, okay? But the clay can't create
Oh
life
my
from
God.
itself. Major difference here.
It's
okay?
not the clay that came
Textbook
to
says
life.
students are taught that life evolved from non-living materials, like this one. Many important events occurred during the Archean era, the most important of which was the evolution of life. Progress from complex molecules to even the simplest living organism was a very long process. Yes, boys and girls, you see.
Yes, but we've seen the start of that.
Away. They hide it in antiquity. Well, if you just imagine, you go back far enough, it happened. Oh, yeah, it must have. This one says, between 4 and 3.8 billion years ago, living cells emerged. There's no record of the event.
Yeah, we're still not talking about evolution, by the way.
Stupid, okay?
We haven't even touched on actual
First
evolution.
self-replicating systems must have emerged in this organic soup. Yep, we all came from soup. Now that's stupid. I'm sorry, it just lacks common sense. Ernst Haeckel said he knew that spontaneous generation must be true, not because it had been proven in the laboratory, but because otherwise it would be necessary to believe in a creator. Ah, now we're getting to the truth. Well, I'm sorry, Ernst. That's a stupid way to look at life, okay? Have scientists really produced life in the laboratory? Well, they want you to think they have. What they did, they took a series of glass tubes and beakers and flasks and hooked them all together and made 4 gases go through there: methane, ammonia, water vapor, and hydrogen. Notice, there's no oxygen. They didn't want oxygen in there. They excluded oxygen. They said, well, maybe the early Earth had what's called a reducing atmosphere, no oxygen present. Well, then they said, at the bottom of the flask, it collected stuff that was rich in amino acids. That's stupid. It was not rich in amino acids by a long shot. What they did, they took 4 gases, excluding oxygen. Major problem, because they had to leave oxygen out, because if anything tried to get together, it would oxidize. You know,
But we do know that, like, early Earth didn't really have oxygen. Oxygen came around because plants began to make oxygen with carbon dioxide. Not plants, but, like, you know, protoplants like bacteria and stuff. But anyway, would like to watch the actual
cut a
part on
banana open, lay it on
evolution.
the table, it turns brown. It
Here we go.
oxidizes.
Okay, I'm
You
going to
don't
skip
pay
ahead a
attention.
little bit so we could talk about evolution.
Common ancestor.
Here we go.
Of dog. A dog.
Here we go.
This Irish textbook calls, you may get religious styles have a common ancestor. Everything inside that circle is just pure religious speculation. They're
Hold on.
As I'm concerned, folks, the oceans are common sense, to say scientist and a student. They can't even get just a couple of these amino acids to combine. Can't even make a protein. He said, well, you're
yes,
right.
we can.
I said, now, to answer your question, I guess I'd have to say, if a bunch of intelligent scientists get together and create life in the laboratory, That would prove it takes intelligence to make life.
But, okay.
Which is what I've been saying all along.
This guy should have a laugh track and environmental sounds play after
Life came
every
from
joke.
rocks. That's just stupid. It's
Okay.
not common sense, okay?
So
Macroevolution tells
here
us
we go.
it can change
Now
from one kind
we're
of animal
talking
into
about
another.
evolution.
Textbooks
This
suggest, boys
is
and girls,
the only.
bacteria slowly evolved
Yeah.
to humans.
Yes.
This
No.
one says all the animals have a common ancestor. Early
No. Bacteria did not evolve into humans. Bacteria is on a different tree of life. Bacteria and humans evolved from single-celled organisms, but bacteria, I believe. Yeah. Yeah. So there are some like small. Yeah. Yeah, we're not even the same tree.
reptile. That's just stupid, okay? Nobody's ever seen a dog produce a non-dog, all right?
No, and you never will, because anything that a dog produces will be a dog. Just like mammals produce mammals, just like birds are still dinosaurs.
Even Mary Leakey said those trees of life with their branches of our ancestors is a lot of nonsense. Stephen Gould at Harvard University said, the evolutionary trees that adorn our textbooks are not the evidence of fossils. We don't have any proof of these trees at all. They make it up. They say the mammals and the birds and the crocodiles have a common ancestor. Everything inside that circle is just pure religious speculation. They're guessing. Nobody's ever seen a dog produce a non-dog. You may get a big dog or a little dog, but you get a dog every time. This Irish textbook calls it divergent evolution. Oh, come on, look at it.
But we have seen evidence by looking into our past and looking at extant species and seeing what they have in common, and we can see like their genetic makeup, and they can all kind of be traced back to a common ancestor, right? And also, when do you like if you say that wolves and dogs are the same kind, where do you cut that off? What about bears? Like, there's bear dogs and dog bears, and like if you follow dogs and bears far back enough, and we have lots of, like, where do you draw the line between a bear and a dog? Yeah, guy who just devoted his entire career to studying evolution. I just casually admit that there's no evidence for evolution. Well, he's kind of like taking it out of context, because like the way that we envision like the march of progress, it's not quite true, like it's not really how it works. I am not more advanced than like a chimp or a bonobo or an orangutan or even like a parakeet or a dog. Like, I'm not more evolved than them. That's not really how it works. It's not like a straight line from start to finish. We adapt to our environments, and humans adapted very well to their environments, but like so did ants, and so did bacteria, so did the COVID virus. But like, is the virus really alive? Like, it's, you know,
You got 5 dogs coming from a wolf. Don't give it a fancy name. It's still a dog, okay? That's not evolution. That's stupid to say that's evolution. It's a variety of dog. This Mexican textbook says the horse and a zebra have a common ancestor. I agree. And it looked like a horse. Four-wheel drive, genuine leather upholstery. I mean, all the standard equipment, okay? There's a lot of kinds of cows in the world, probably 15 different major varieties of cows, and they might have had a common ancestor. A cow. There's a magazine where you can order chickens. Okay, boys and girls, let's order some chickens. Do you want to get cinnamon queens?
Yeah, they're not like yeah, dogs didn't come from bears and bears didn't come from dogs, but they did come from like a common ancestor. Because they're like, where do you draw the line? No, that's a speculative evolution thing. This is a German Shepherd. That looks like a dog. But if you were to see like whoa. Hey. Okay, right. Audio is still working. Well, that's wrong. No. I just think that like it gets really hard to tell sometimes. You notice like the similarities in their teeth. I don't know. Absolute chunker of a tree of bacteria pick. Google hole. I want to look at the Google hole. Oh my god. Hold on a second. Yeah. But Ken Hovind would call this the bacteria kind when they're so genetically diverse that it gets kind of crazy. All right, we're almost done here.
Red rocks, white rocks, cherry eggers, brown leghorns, golden comets. But then the magazine says, jungle fowl are the original bird from which all varieties and strains of domesticated chickens are derived. Did you know all the chickens had a common ancestor? It was a chicken. Some say, well, that's evolution. No, I'm sorry, that's stupid, okay? It's a variety of chicken, right? There are 8 kinds of bears in the world, and they might have had a common ancestor. A bear.
Yeah, we
So
just looked at
to take
bears.
these observations we see, like dogs and wolves having a common ancestor, and saying that is a conclusion that we all have a common ancestor, I'm sorry, that's just stupid. It lacks common intelligence, right? Textbook says the horse evolved from a 4-toed horse. What they don't tell you about this is the first one had 18 pairs of ribs. It's a meat-eating animal still alive today in East Africa and Turkey, okay? It's about smaller than a fox. It's not a horse. It's not even related, okay? The next one had 15 pairs of ribs. The next one has 19. They just picked these animals and arranged them in order, okay? The horse evolution series is stupid. It's never observed today. There's a huge variety of horses today. We got big horses and little horses right now. And the horse evolution series was proven wrong in 1950. Even G.G. Simpson, who believed very strongly in evolution, says, look, folks, it's not true. It's wrong. Take this out of the textbooks. It never happened in nature. But they still keep this in the textbooks. And they know it hasn't held up to examination, but they don't have any replacement evidence. The Othniel Marsh made up this entire
That's not good. Ooh. What is this? Across the fruited plain. That doesn't sound good. "18 ribs a horse has." Many ribs. Yeah, basically the only things that I can see talking about this are just creationist websites. So, yeah.
entire horse evolution idea in 1874. He made it up. He picked animals from all over the world. Horses, modern horses are found in layers with the so-called ancient horses. The ancient horse, the Hyracotherium, is not even a horse. It's just like a hyrax, still alive today in Turkey and East Africa. The ribs, we can go all day about the difference between horses and the hyrax, okay? Tulsa Zoo finally took down their display because 2,000 people signed a petition saying, "Get this lie out of our zoo." They took it down for 6 months and then put it back
I can
up when
only
nobody was
see,
watching.
I can only hear
Peabody Museum still has the
these
horse
guys
evolution
talking
on display.
about
Now,
it.
it's only been proven wrong for 55 years. I know it takes a while to get displays up to date in your museum. But 55 years is long enough in my book, okay? Leaving that thing in the zoo is stupid. Or in a university, it's not true. I was in a debate one time, and this one professor, I was going through lies in the textbooks. I said, "Get that out of the textbooks, it's not true." He said, "Well, fine." He said, "Well, what are you going to replace all this stuff with?" Now that's stupid. I said, "Are you telling me we can't take a lie out of the textbooks unless..."
And like, I want people to think for a second. What could people possibly have to gain from studying the evolution of horses? What can you gain from that? Now, you could come up on that theory, well, it lets you sin, it lets you do this, it makes you feel useless. But I could tell you right now that Kent Hovind has a much more concrete, tangible, and evident benefit from trying to convince you that it's wrong. And that is money. Immediate money that he will get that day. Ken Hovind is more, he has more reason to lie to you and convince you that God exists than, like, and I'm talking about selfish reasons. Whereas as far as like atheism and science goes, like, it's kind of it it would have to be a pretty big grift, you know. So many scientists would have to be in on it. That just doesn't make sense, because at a certain point, like, it just gets too big to hide. Whereas Kent Hovind can wring money out of the people in his congregation right there, right now. And I'm sure that this sounds familiar to anybody who watches my other content of, like, what could what could a person on the internet possibly have to gain by being angry and using a very assured, confident voice and making rage bait content, and it's money. Like, that's how they get money. um and I just think that that's might be something that people should think about, you know, that it can start very innocently with cartoons and video games, but you can't let yourself get used to just absorbing that information without thinking about it. Um, because one day somebody much worse than a cartoon analyst on the internet might talk to you that way. And if you haven't practiced using your critical thinking skills on the things that don't matter, like cartoons and video games and books, then you might not be able to use those critical thinking skills when you really need them. And that's why we go to school and we ask, hey, why was the door red? Why were the curtains blue? Why was Gatsby's light green? It doesn't really matter what the answer to those questions are. And if you don't know, you're not missing out on this piece of knowledge that is like imperative for you to become a functioning adult. Um, it's important because it's getting you to think about what you're reading and watching and playing. Um, so that when you hear information, you don't just like accept it like at face value. Um, so I guess my point is that it's really important to me that people are thinking for themselves, doing research, asking what the context is of the things people are saying and the way people are acting, and try to make the right decision, you know, or at least don't get swept up in nonsense like this. But I think we're gonna call it here for tonight. With some kittens. But thank you so much for watching. Um, and I will be streaming again tomorrow, but it will probably just be video games. I'm gonna try to do it on YouTube again. But usually my gaming streams are pretty chill. You don't have to come watch them if you don't want to. But I play some Minecraft or some Stardew or something like that, and we have a good time. I finally have my desk set up. So I'll try to find something fun to play tomorrow. But have a good night. And those brains turned on. And don't listen to people just because they're good at talking. Listen to people because what they are saying has value. Bye-bye.